This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Oh, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, everybody across the United States of America. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground. Along with me is the Duchess of Doing Stuff, my own personal Wikipedia, Tallahassee's favorite libertarian, Danielle Alexandre. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Good to hear you're doing good.
I got in here like right at the last second, so like the music was on, and I still didn't even have headphones on or anything, so like I'm just starting to kind of get set up because I literally kind of came in very last second. Because I stopped earlier to tell you guys the story of the morning and...
The morning story.
Yeah, the morning story and not getting ready to get on the show. I was talking.
I got you. People were listening. It was beautiful.
Well, you two were listening.
It was America. Also, the Prime Minister of Things That Are Sinister, a gentleman who is wearing a black shirt, but has a lot of superheroes on it. Greg Bowen, how are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
Very nice. I like that you are spectacular. You're always doing spectacular, though.
Yeah.
I wish sometimes you would change up your word.
Okay, I'll find a new adjective for you.
You don't always have to find a new adjective. I just wish you felt like you wanted a new adjective. Like, you understand what I mean by that? Like, I want you to find it in yourself. I don't want to do it. I want you to do it because I want you to do it.
You want me to be something other than spectacular?
No, I just... Well, you can't always be spectacular.
I can.
All right, maybe you can. Maybe you can.
I'll change it up for you.
Always be fabulous.
Well, I am never fabulous.
You're never fabulous?
I am sometimes fantastic. I am always phenomenal, but rarely fabulous.
Rarely. Have you ever been fabulous?
Possibly.
Not that you were aware of, though.
Maybe.
He doesn't remember it after the fact.
Yeah. There's probably pictures on the internet.
You just said there was pictures on the internet about you being fabulous. I don't even know how to take that. Well, I hope everybody's doing well. Hopefully you had a good week. If you're a good person. If you're a bad person, I hope you had a bad week. But I'm just saying.
That's funny.
If you would like to call the program, though, the Refresh Telecom lines, 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032.
And we may even answer the phone this time.
Maybe.
Possibly.
So
Depends
call.
on how I feel.
There's a good chance of that.
Just, try your luck. See if you are the lucky caller that we answer.
And if you do know the keyword, which is Merca, and Merca, which if you know that, then we're all good. Busy show this week too. I think we got a lot going on here, which is good. I like to see that we're doing good with a lot of different things going on.
Lots of show prep.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot going on. And hour number one is the big hour. It's the big hour.
Well, no. When you look down the hour 2 and hour 3, what happens is there's like one subject that will last a long time. So you don't see as many things written down because we'll be talking about one thing for a while.
Well, no, I understand. But when it comes to important issues to discuss, I would say that hour number one is probably the big hour for the important things to discuss.
Yeah, definitely. I would think so.
So let's just get started right with it, though, because I think it's going to take the entire hour to kind of go through this one. Because I think this is a big one, and it's kind of a problem for all the rest of us.
Well, yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem. It's definitely a problem. Now, how much of a problem it is, or how we got to deal with this, is a different story. But it is a big problem. And hour number one, we are dedicating to dedicating like it's slow jam. Hour number one, dedicated to ISIS. So we
couple skate, ladies' choice.
It's couples. Wouldn't it be nice if ISIS just wanted a couple skate and that's all we had to deal with these guys?
Liberty Underground show.
Someone did call.
Somebody did call?
They wanted to test their luck.
Charco.
Uh-oh.
All right, hold on.
Do you have the music ready for him?
Hold on, let me transfer you over.
Hold on, we got to transfer him over. We have a caller. We're going to go right off the bat with a caller. See where he wants to go. He probably doesn't want to go to ISIS. But we'll take a call. We opened up the phone lines. We open this thing up. We have to now lie in the bed that we have created.
I don't have. I just now got the sound effects and stuff.
I got you.
For it, so I don't have the music ready. But
That's all right. We'll just bring him on.
Charco.
All right, on the air, Charco the chicken. Charco, how you doing, sir?
Hold on, let's transfer him over. We have a caller.
Hey, turn.
You
the,
have to turn the thing.
You gotta turn it down on the radio, man, or on the computer. Charco, you gotta turn it down.
Yes.
There you go. Hey, Charco, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you, Alex?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, man?
Pretty good. I just wanted to ask your opinion, since you might have experience on this, on the idea of causing U.S. Marines to put down their rifles at any time. And I'll hang up and hear your answer, okay?
All right. Yeah, that's fine.
Adrian was having.
I think I know some of the story in which you're talking about.
We already have another.
I know a little bit of it, but no matter what, you don't put your rifles down. And again, I don't know the specifics of the incident. I've heard about it, but I don't know specifically exactly what happened.
No, let me put you on hold for a second.
But putting your rifles down is never a good thing to do. You have to. You take them with you. You bring them home with you. I mean, it's just a waste of money to put them down over there because you're not going to be able to keep them. I mean, you're going to give them to terrorists, but again, laying down our terrorists,
I would frown upon that.
they don't get frowned upon very much. I don't understand this though. I don't even understand them. I mean, I know the Marines had to do it, but
All right, Charco's off the line.
all right, Charco's off the line. We have somebody new. Well, we're just getting
Yeah.
calls right off the bat.
See, this is what happens when you open up the phone lines. People call.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm kind of actually happy that people are calling. I guess we'll take another call early this morning. Man, it's 9:08. We already got 2 phone calls. I don't even know how to react to this, to be honest with you.
This is what happens when you read the number off before the 3rd hour.
Yeah. Look at Greg, though. Look at Greg having to work over there. He's not happy about this.
I know. I really don't like all this.
Oh, here we go. Oh,
Wait, there we go.
you're live on the air.
Hey, am I defense caller? Did I win the tickets?
No, you didn't. You didn't win.
The
You
first
were the,
contestant of sport.
Oh,
you were
man,
the 50th, 11th caller.
You don't have any more tickets for Fabulous Greg and the Unicorn Show?
No. Well, hold on. We can have a special ticket for you on that one. We'll create a special ticket for you, and we'll make it out of lace. How about that?
Well, I've already been combing Google for the photos out there of Greg being fabulous. So I'm really looking forward to those.
You're not going to find it under Greg. You'll find it under my stage name, which I'm not telling you.
You just said he had a stage name. I wonder what it is.
I'm a pretty good investigator. I'll find it.
We'll have to figure that one out.
Good luck.
Good luck. Is this Adrian? Is that what it is?
Of course it's Adrian.
I didn't even know it was Adrian. So, my bad. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, brother. How y'all doing?
Doing very well. Doing very well. You know what? I'm actually glad that you're on the line.
Well, that's a surprise.
I was gonna say you relish this moment. Put it on the
Well,
calendar.
no. I'm glad because what we're going to bring up. We're going to be talking about ISIS, and I'm going to ask you just an overall question right now on ISIS. And the overall question is, at this point, what do we do?
Well, I think there's not much to be done about the ancient Greek goddess. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant at this point, isn't it?
All right.
Isis was an Egyptian goddess.
I understand that
that
ISIS
is
was.
true.
I understand the Egyptian goddess part.
Wasn't she the daughter of Osiris or something like that? The wife of Osiris?
Yes, she was.
I tend to remember something about that.
She was the wife of Osiris.
Oh, well. Well, hold on a second now. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's a new group that has taken over the name. They've tried to co-opt the name, and they're in the Iraq and Syria area, being a bunch of bad guys. So That's kind of the ISIS that I'm talking about, not really the Greek goddess.
Oh, so you're talking about the Syrian rebels that a year and a half ago we were wanting to arm and join to overthrow Assad. Those guys, right?
I believe that's the people that I'm discussing, yes.
Yes.
Okay, hang on. Let me check the latest stats. Okay, ISIS. Yes, today now they're bad guys.
Yeah,
Year and a half ago, good guys. Today, bad guys.
Yes.
Obviously, look, ISIS, evil people. They behead people. They burn people alive. They're, Islamist zealots, and they have no part in a civilization. Having said that, it's amazing that we're looking to get ourselves into another quagmire in a part of the world that we've shown repeatedly that our intervention will always make matters worse. And it looks like, the war drums are banging, that we're going to invest, quote unquote, more American blood and treasure to try to fix problems that we have no earthly chance of fixing. I think it's a huge mistake, and I think that, as most libertarians would agree, our best option is to do nothing, to stay out of this fight. It's not our fight. If it comes to our shores, then it's a whole different matter, but it's not. So, I think we all agree that we should stand down and let the folks over there handle this issue.
Okay, let me ask you another question then, and I'll it's kind of a follow up, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts. Does the fact that we basically gave them an army full of ammunition, and I'm talking the tanks and the Humvees and all the weapons that we gave to the Iraqis that they now possess, does that change at all in your mind of, like, let me give you an example. Let's just say we go over there and break all the stuff we got and then come home. Like, does having all of that equipment that really makes them a lot more dangerous, does that change anything for you?
At this point, I would say no. We will be essentially we would be throwing good money after bad, and we would be putting more lives, American lives, at risk by trying to repatriate or destroy that equipment. But that's nothing new. I mean, we have been. Because we always take the approach of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but the problem is in that part of the world, friends and enemies change hats all the time. We didn't learn this lesson with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, who evolved into Al-Qaeda and into the Taliban. We're not learning it now with the Syrian rebels. We are as responsible for arming that part of the world as is Russia to a certain degree. But, if it wasn't for the two superpowers meddling in those affairs, most of the fighters would still be hurling rocks at each other.
No, and there's definitely some truth to that. But and we're going to get into this here. I don't know if you want to stay on why we're just going to be discussing this, but
you're the host. That's up to you.
Yeah. Well, let's. Danielle, you had a place where you wanted to get started on this. Is that right? No, you didn't.
I just wanted Fabulous Greg and the Unicorn tickets.
Fabulous.
No,
Hold on, you really ought to start a rock band called Fabulous Greg and the Unicorns. By the way, like, hey, would you play, Adrian? Would you play bass on a band called Fabulous Greg and the Unicorns?
Well, I'm not much of a bassist, but I can play a pretty mean rhythm guitar.
Oh, there you go.
I'm the bass player.
Oh, there you go. So, Fabulous Greg and the Unicorns. Can you get that done, Greg?
Sure.
Alex will buy you the website.
He's already created a Facebook page.
I already own the website. I already own the website for that. All right. So, and that's, I think, me and Greg were talking about this on Wednesday night. Danielle was already asleep. Me and Greg were talking about this on Wednesday night. And I was in the thought process on this, and I know, look, we really should get out of these countries and quit playing around. But I think that we're at a point where we kind of left them with some equipment we probably shouldn't leave them with. And I think we should go break our stuff. So I support breaking our stuff.
But how do you break the stuff without killing people.
Well, yeah, that's a problem, and I don't necessarily have a solution to that problem other than we're going to have to kill some people in order to break this stuff. But if you're in our stuff,
part of
though,
the problem with that, Alex, is they tend to, house the materials, weapons caches, equipment in civilian areas just for that purpose. So the amount of, and I even hate using this term, but the amount of collateral damage would be significant if we tried to do that. And that actually propels more hatred against the U.S. I think at this point it's a no-win situation for us, and our best course of action is to just get out of the way and let the nations of that region take care of the problem. Jordan looks like they're doing a pretty good job as it is.
well, no, and you're right. But then that comes into the second problem that we have. What we've done is we've armed ISIS, and whether we want to say we armed them or not is really academic at this point, considering that we armed them.
Well, no, I think we can all in this room say for sure that we've armed them.
Well, yeah, but there's people that are going to go, we didn't arm ISIS. We did. Considering that we armed them, and considering we armed them with some of the best stuff we got, with good equipment, we've given them a tactical advantage or a weaponry advantage over the rest of the countries over there.
But we've given all of those countries over there weapons.
No, we didn't give the Kurds weapons.
Our only ally.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah, the one that's our real ally, we didn't give them any real good weapons. I mean, everybody else we've given weapons to, you're right, but the Kurds we didn't.
But I'm saying as nations, when you talk about, when you go down the nation per nation that in this region that ISIS is wanting to take over, we've given every one of those nations at some point weapons.
No. At some point, we've given a lot of these guys weapons. I'm just, at this point, should we leave somebody that's that dangerous, because I do believe that they're that dangerous, with all those weapons, and just say, well, the rest of the countries around here, you guys deal with this mess, we're out. Like I understand us not intervening anymore, and I agree with that, but I think we got to kind of finish this, though, in order to not intervene anymore. And again, I'm just throwing it out there. It doesn't matter anyway because we're totally going to intervene, and we're going to do it the wrong way too, mind you. It's not even going to be done correctly. But I'm just curious: as should we?
I think it's time for us to cut our losses in that region completely.
Yeah.
Because no matter what we do, there's not going to be an end objective. We're not going to get to a point and say, okay, well, now we've destroyed, most of our Humvees and things of that nature, and now we can finish up, because it's just not going to end that way. So having that as an objective, I would say that if we're going to pull completely out of that, and at latest count, I understand there's approximately 300 Marines that are now surrounded at one of their camps in al-Baghdadi that are pinned down by ISIS. I think our best bet would be extract them and to not move down the path that we're going towards in Syria with the authorization of force. You've got the Democrats wanting to fight in Syria and engage in limited measures there. And you've got the Republicans saying, well, that's not enough. And nobody is saying, let's do nothing, which I believe is the right course of action.
I think what happens when and I understand we've caused a lot of these problems, so we have to clean it up before we leave. So I'm not saying I don't understand the thought behind it, and I do understand it, and I think in most cases that would be rational, but I don't think it is in this situation. And the reason why is because we're always saying, but we've created this, so as soon as we kind of get to a point where we've fixed it a little bit, we're going to get out, and then that causes more people to join the other side, and then we say, well, now we've made the problem worse here. So I think there's always this snowball effect where even if we were to go and start destroying our weapons that are there in the region, you're going to end up with killing innocent people, and then now you have more people joining ISIS and all of these terrorist organizations against us, And so you end up with, well, now we have to do something because we killed a lot of their civilians, so now everybody wants to fight us, and now we may have a threat over here again, so now we have to stay in the region. And I think we just end up with this, there's no end. It's just a circle that will never end until someone just says, you know what, we have to remove ourselves from the circle.
And not to mention, we should have learned this lesson with the hunt for the WMDs early in the Iraq War, that ISIS will move these weapons, move these caches, we'll be chasing them all over the country for years. We'll never have a good tally if we've got them all or not. So it really just sets the stage for a prolonged conflict with no end resolution. And that's part of the problem with this entire concept of the war on terror. There is no end objective. There's no period where we're ever going to sit down and sign a armistice or a peace treaty or anything like that, because the threat is always evolving. It's generational, and so really you have to look at it as a cost-benefit analysis. And when I say cost, I'm talking about in lives, not just money. And I think at this point, it's clear that there is no long-term benefit for the United States to be involved in that part of the world anymore at all.
I have a hard time disagreeing with your argument. I really do. I have a hard time disagreeing with it. You know what my problem is that we won't do the right thing. We as a country aren't going to do the right thing no matter what. So even if I said what the right thing was and said we should go over there to do the right thing, we won't do the right thing anyway. And that's the part that kind of sucks. It really pisses me off that we're not going to learn our lessons, that we should have learned these lessons, especially in the Middle East, where we've done. And again, this is not blame America. This is blame the foreign policy of the United States, though, not to blame the Americans. I mean, they did what they, we've had people that go over there they thought they were defending. The problem is that we have screwed so much crap up on the foreign policy side by everybody. It's not just Democrats that have done it. It's not just Republicans. What really gets me is people are talking about how Obama is so weak, and while outwardly the way he talks is definitely in a weaker tone than Bush would do, his actions are not that, though. The actions are, he's killed more people with drones than Bush did. Americans, they did what so they he killed more people than Bush did. All they did was was change the war to a drone war. So that's the part that irks me about when they talk about Obama. They go, he's so weak now. It's like, if you were Alawaki, I would think that he might be disagreeing with you from the grave. If you're a 16-year-old kid, he might be disagreeing with you. If you're the hundreds of terrorists that have died via drone bombings, I'd say he disagrees with you.
Well, and not even the terrorists that have died with drone, but the collateral damage, the innocent civilians that have died because there happened to be someone that they thought was in their village, and we've decimated an entire village.
Yeah. Look, I don't think they're trying to do that on purpose, but it happens. That's why you shouldn't go to war unless you declare it. And why the reauthorization of force, by the way? I don't understand why they got to reauthorize force. They're already doing it now, and the reauthorization of force is crap to begin with. You declare war. What's the problem here? I wish these people would be serious.
Well, listen. Go ahead, Adrian.
Well, I was just going to say, and I understand why people say that the Obama administration is weak, because really in, putting all our effort on the Middle East and at this point ISIS, we're ignoring actual threats to our national security from groups and nations that have the capabilities of actually harming this nation significantly. Two examples. We have the Russians now consistently probing our defenses in Alaska, along the west coast of the United States. They're sending over Bear bombers on almost a daily basis. You have Hawaiian separatists right now that are looking to, overthrow the state government and reinstall the monarchy, being funded by the Chinese. Now, these are actual threats to the United States from superpowers who can potentially cause us great harm, but yet we're not doing anything about those, what I perceive to be significant threats against the United States. We're worried about ISIS, and really the only threat ISIS presents is to Americans who travel to that part of the world. And I believe that at this point in time, if you're making that conscious decision, you're voluntarily taking a risk by traveling to Syria or Iraq or anywhere in that section of the Middle East right now. So, it's odd, the threats that we're choosing to engage. It's kind of like we've got, nations with essentially a gun pointed at our head, and we're worried about the kids playing down the block. That's the kind of mentality that we have as a nation right now, and I think that is part of the reason of the perceived weakness of the Obama administration.
Yeah, I guess. I just, and I said this, I think me and Greg even ended on this note last, on Wednesday night, was there's no good solutions here. There's nothing that is a good solution, and it really is our own fault that we're in this predicament to begin with. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, the other fault is that there's evil people in the world, and that's just going to be the case. It's always going to be the case. There's always going to be some set of bad guys somewhere that wants to do something bad, and if we can't be the policeman of the world, that's the problem. It's what got us into this mess. It's what's made it worse. Look, right now you're dealing with a conflict in the Middle East between the Sunnis, the Shias, and the Kurds, in which we've armed. We've armed them in a pretty major way, and we have for some time. It's not just like the new thing right here is the new armament of this. When the Iran-Iraq war was going on, we armed both sides to there. Remember Iran-Contra? I mean, look, we were giving Iranians arms then. We were giving them arms.
We armed both sides of the war.
Yeah, we armed both sides on that one. We've armed a lot of people over there, and then we get upset and crazy because they're using these arms to shoot each other. I mean, it's just, as a libertarian, we're in a bad position because it's because of non-libertarian positions that got us to this point to begin with, and yet somehow I'm supposed to have to give a position that makes sense to fix the problem when you don't even understand, when a lot of people don't even understand that the real problem is we shouldn't have been doing any of this to begin with. Like, this problem goes back to 1953. If not sooner than that, but I'll say 53 is probably one of the bigger times that you can point to.
Our involvement in our meddling definitely goes back to there. The problems go back much further, though.
No, I know it goes back a lot further. And look, they were warring much earlier than this too. By the way,
they've been warring for centuries.
But we got involved, and we got in the middle of it in '53. But even before that, we did. But like I said, you have to go back that far if we're really going to have an honest discussion about what we should do. Like, we really do need to sit back and take a look at what is going on, what has our long-term effect been, and can we stop doing that?
Well, really, you can even go further back than 53, and where the real problem that started that we're dealing with today is the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and when the League of Nations, basically the United States, France, and England, decided we're going to draw your borders. We toppled the Ottoman Empire. We made a deal with all of the local leaders that if you help us topple the Ottoman Empire, we're going to give you your land and let you rule your own sovereign nations. Except we reneged on the deal and decided we're going to draw the lines. And the countries that we liked, we gave them what they wanted. And the countries we didn't like, we screwed them over. And none of these borders ever existed before we came along. That's why they're always fighting over these borders, because they never wanted them in the first place, and they don't agree on them.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and we're involved in a situation where we don't understand the dynamic and cultures of the region. And, so you're looking at, well, these people are fighting over here and these people are fighting over there. There's different tribes in the region, and as much as we look at our country like, well, we've gotten out of these tribal wars, we've put those to rest and moved on, this region hasn't. So we're involved in tribal wars that reach back centuries that we don't understand. and then are trying to make sense of it all and get ourselves involved in it. And they don't, number one, don't want our involvement, and we don't ever give them the right solution because we don't understand we don't understand the centuries and centuries of the fighting to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adrian, you want to add something to that?
Well, we also have to understand that there is, and most of the groups that we identify as terror groups, there is a strong force in the region that wants to turn the entire region into an Islamic caliphate. Now, I don't believe that the majority of the people in those nations want that. But what happens is, as we get involved, the populations there have no choice but to just keep their heads down. I think actually pulling out of the region is going to be the best thing we can do if we want to see true freedom take root in some of these countries. And the people of Iraq, the people of Iran, Syria to a lesser degree, have a desire for that. I truly believe. And I think us getting out of the way could very well be the impetus for some free revolutions in these countries. ISIS is not as strong as they're being portrayed to be. So I think that, given the vacuum of the United States pulling out, the right forces might prevail, and you might actually set the stage for some, revolutionary improvements in those nations.
It's possible. I mean, hell, at this point, anything's worth a shot. I just, like I said, we're in one of those positions where it's very, as a libertarian, nobody seems to like our answers, but it's like we've already tried your answer and it hasn't worked. But even now, I look at it like we did give all these people, these weapons are, it's not like just they got a bunch of M16s right now. They got much more than that. And do we have any responsibility to make those inoperable or take those out? Like all the other weapons that they have, do we have a responsibility there? And I can't just blanket say no to that, but I'm, interested to see the other people's takes on it. But I can't disagree with somebody saying that we should just pull everything out. What we have to do is we have to do it. Like all the half-assing is the problem.
I don't know that necessarily just pulling out is the best solution, because it's like we've left a bunch of kids in a room full of guns, and pulling out, it's like, okay, you guys just solve this yourself, and we're leaving them with the guns that we left them to solve this problem. Kind of like what we were talking about. We kind of need to take away all that stuff that we left them, go in, just strike the tanks, strike the munitions, all the stuff that they have that we left, that we armed them with, take that away from them. You want to rearm yourselves, do it with somebody else. We're not gonna send you any more munitions. We're gonna destroy everything we left. And now you solve your problem.
But I think what we should do is have McCain do it personally.
The premise is that the ones who delivered all the arms to them. That's not the case.
We did.
They've been armed from Russia, China, nations all over the world. They're being armed now by, in the case of ISIS, by Iran, who is, a very strong regional power. Look, our weapons in the long run are not going to make a big difference. I mean, if you trace it back, you still have fighters in that part of the world that are using Red-Eye and Stinger missiles that they got from us in 1979 and 80.
The thing is, our munitions from the 70s are still better than a lot of what the Russians and the Iranians have now.
Well, no. But hold on, though. One thing I did want to say here. In this fight, though, Iran's not on ISIS's side.
Oh, well, I thought Iran was supplying arms to ISIS.
No. They don't like them either. No. ISIS got all the supplies from us. This is one of those things where we now, here's the thing. Here's how we armed them, though. We armed them in Syria to fight Assad, and they took those weapons over to Iraq, and then the Iraqis, who we armed to the teeth, they dropped all their weapons on the ground, and ISIS picked them up in Iraq. So that's how ISIS got armed, was because of what we gave them in Syria and what they took in Iraq. But Iran is not is not for them. Iran is actually on our side fighting ISIS.
Iran is like the only reliable ally against ISIS that we have. They've been the only ones that have been standing up against them from the beginning.
Yeah, in this one, the Kurds and ISIS. Here's the thing. Here's who's on our side: Syria, Iran, the Kurds, and a couple of France and a couple other countries and stuff like that. That's who's with us on. Oh, and Jordan, of course. Now, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan's now.
But those are the people that are actually with us against ISIS.
And the irony there is, and this just underscores what I was saying before. Now we find ourselves being in a position of being allied with the Assad regime in Syria when just literally a year and a half ago, we were talking about fighting side by side with ISIS against Assad.
Yeah.
And it goes to show you, and my mistake on Iran goes to show you how complex this situation is. The sides are changing all the time. The good guys, the bad guys are changing all the time. You can't keep up with it. And inevitably, with the enemy of my enemy approach, you're going to be arming the wrong side, no matter which side you choose. And it's a perfect example of why we just need to cut our losses now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's confusing. It's all kinds of messed up over there, which really is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And now punditry wise, not your own personal opinion, but punditry wise, what do you think we're going to do?
I think we're going to engage in limited actions against ISIS in Syria, work with Jordan. We'll probably ignore the Kurds like we always have. But we are losing long-term allies. Look at the transition in Turkey. Turkey used to be one of our staunchest allies, and by the way, Turkey is still in possession of approximately 60 nuclear weapons that we gave to them in the 60s and 70s. So nobody ever talks about it, but essentially Turkey is a nuclear power. So now we've got Turkey turning against us because of the radicalization going on there, which has been fueled by our actions in the Middle East. We can't make matters better. We can only make matters worse, and we've shown that repeatedly, especially throughout the last decade and a half, but throughout the last several decades.
All right, Danielle, same question to you. Punditry-wise, what are we going to do?
Well, I think no matter what we do, we're going to make matters worse. And I think that's just a given. I think that you're going to see, limited military intervention, but I think it's going to be more than what they tell the people. I mean, you already have, Republicans saying, well, you're not going far enough. So, I mean, I think the country, as a country, we're going to be playing that line of military intervention and a full-out ground war. And it's going to kind of stay on that line because the people themselves will not stand for another ground war, but our leaders want that. So I think you're going to see like this very thin line between the two. But regardless of how many boots are on the ground, how many people how many planes we put up in the air, no matter what, there is no way that anyone in our nation that is leading our nation is going to make matters better. Whatever their decisions is going to make it worse.
Greg?
Well, I think the most moral course of action would be to go in, remove all the weapons and munitions that we've armed these people with, and remove our culpability as best we can, and then let the region work it out themselves. If Iran wants to keep arming, if Russia wants to keep arming, that's on them. And then they deal with the consequences of that. But we have armed so many groups and supported so many different people that are at odds with each other and our own interests, that we need to get out of there, but we can't just pull out the way we have. We have created this mess. We need to take some level of responsibility for this mess as best we can, and then get out of there. Because we cannot solve that region's problems. We're not a part of that region. At best, it has to be something worked out by the nations in that region, and let them fight this out and find the ultimate resolution.
All right.
Quite possibly we're going to go in there, though, with some kind of bombing campaign that makes shock and awe look like peaches and herb.
All right. So what do I now to me? So what do I think we're going to do? What punditry wise? Again, not that I approve or disapprove of the action, but punditry wise, what do I think we're going to do? We're going in there with special forces. We're going to go in there. We're going to continue the bombing campaign. We're going to up our bombing campaign a little bit. We're going to bring some special forces in there. We're going to do some surgical stuff until one of those groups ends up getting a bunch of people killed, and then we're bringing in all the troops. And Obama is literally going to Congress to get authorization to do this, to cover his ass, and to say that he has the authority to do this now, moving forward. And in the 2016 election cycle, this is going to be a major issue that the presidential candidates are going to be running on, and both the Democrats and the Republicans are going to be hawkish on it. And the only one that's going to be talking about the right solution is Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson for president. I can't believe I got there, but I got there.
Yeah, that was a stretch.
Nicely done. Good segue.
Yeah.
All right, but we got to take a break, though. I'd like to thank
Hey,
each.
I've got to go, and I just want to remind everyone, tonight at 10 p.m. at the Capitol Theater, it's Fabulous Greg and the Unicorns. The opening act is Alex's Washboard Band featuring Danielle on the accordion.
There you go. Thank you for the plug, Mr. Wiley. We appreciate your input here, sir. It was very very well done.
All right, see you guys.
See you later. Talk hard.
That's Brandon.
That's Brandon.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I'm sorry.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
All right. Well, we got to take a break. Again, there's no good answers for the Middle East thing. Never is, though. Never is good answers, folks. You're not getting sunshine and lollipops here today. You're getting truth, baby. You listen to Liberty Underground. We'll be back.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground on the 1787 Radio Network. If you'd like to call the program, well, I almost giving out the number because somebody might actually call. 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. Well, I did read a little bit more into this incident that happened over in Yemen. And what happened was all the personal weapons they got to take away, but anything they couldn't get out of there, they left there and they just made it inoperable. So they didn't take their personal weapons. They took like the stuff that they were using to guard the embassy with. You know, there's some stuff they couldn't take with them, and they had to make all that stuff inoperable. Which, again, it's still bad that we even had an embassy over there, and we should take everything out of there. But it's not as bad as they disarmed all of them and then put them on a plane. They had all their personal weapons and stuff like that, at least from what I'm reading here. And then
Brandon will know more about it.
Brandon will know more. Yeah, we'll talk about with Brandon about that when he gets on here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, once we have a knowledgeable person on the phone.
Yeah, once we have somebody that knows what they're talking about. I will say one thing though. In Brandon's article, he references something that we talked about the other day on the way home, which was the Concerned Veterans for America.
Oh, they're a scary group.
It's, you know what's funny is when you're doing this for a long time, when you're involved in politics, you see the cycles. Like you'll see groups start, you'll see groups go away, and you'll see new groups come in. And, you know, there's always a new group forming up about something. It just, you know, happens to be the way it is. Some of them are doing it good and organically, and it's just, you know, it's just people getting together and forming a group. But then there's some that are put together, let's say, for different reasons. And the ones that are the Concerned Veterans for America, and I can't speak to why they're on the Kelly file, but if you're on Fox, if you're a new group and you get on Fox pretty quickly, there's probably something going on that there's some big money behind you. And with these guys, there was some big money behind them. The first time we ever met these guys, we were up in North Florida at a
just a convention kind of deal.
A little convention-ish kind of deal where they had a bunch of groups get together on a quarterly basis and talk about stuff. And these guys were the ones that come in to a stall, and they were there to talk about how the guy that was giving the speech was a member of the CIA. And I'm not trying to say like in a derogatory way.
He said, I'm a former CIA.
Yeah, I'm a former spy with CIA. And tell us how they were able to turn people over in other countries. And was bragging about it almost. Like how they do it. And was bragging about it. Like this was even a level of discussion that was needed in where we were at, which it wasn't. But these guys went in there to make sure that they did that because, be honest with you, the CIA wants a little more influence in these Tea Party groups.
Yeah.
That's I can't believe. And look, we're sitting here listening to this.
It was
going,
bizarre.
This is what they're doing.
Right.
And we couldn't believe it. We're like, what?
It was actually
I didn't want to eat the food they gave.
Yeah, like kind of like why we have to, worry about things that are going on in the Middle East, why we have this, kind of warlike foreign policy, and he was kind of justifying it. And his justification was basically like, if we want to know something about you, we will.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was bizarre.
It was a little weird, man, and it was But like I said, we'll talk with Brandon about this when he gets on. Now, the other story that you wanted to bring up in the whole ISIS thing, though, was about the 3 Muslims that were killed in New York City.
Well, no, that's North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. I'm sorry, North Carolina.
That's way down on the list because I would rather talk about the fact that we have a new Secretary of Defense who is Ashton Carter, and also
Not Ashton Kutcher.
No.
But we will still get poked.
Yeah. That the Senate very quickly confirmed a new Secretary of Defense, and he's Ashton Carter. And also one of our own hostages did get killed by ISIS. But there's a little controversy around. It was Kayla Mueller, who was over there just as a.
Well, she was an aid worker, right?
Yeah, she was an aid worker, and it kind of brings out some of the fighting that goes on in our own country. And this is a young girl who went over there. Now, by some accounts, she was taken as a hostage, but she had not been treated poorly. She basically, although she was held, against her will, she did get to call home several times. She said that she was being treated very well. That for most of the U.S. intelligence on her whereabouts, she was with a. They think that it is even possible that she kind of was given to an ISIS leader to marry, and that as far as everyone was concerned, she was not in harm's way per se, but after the attack, after the things that happened with the Jordanian pilot, and then the response to that, this young girl, and she is young, in her early 20s, was killed. And we've now had, this week we did get confirmation that she was killed. But what I find to be very sad is that people from the right have been very, very cruel. This is a young girl who died, whose family is mourning her death, and she went over there because she thought she could help refugees. She did not go over there because she had any bad intentions. She went over there because she felt like she could help refugees in the area, and she was captured. And now she's been killed, and has basically almost celebrated the fact that she's dead simply because she was a liberal.
I haven't seen much of this, so I haven't seen this a whole lot.
I have.
But you have, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Which we shouldn't be celebrating any American getting killed, by the way, or even thinking that is it's a good thing at all. It's not. It's a bad thing. God, this issue has twisted so many people, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really has. It really has twisted so many people. Like, there's nothing. It's turned so many different people into hypocrites. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really turned them into hypocrites. But I don't know.
She basically had, her reason for going over there is because she wanted to help Palestinian refugees. And she's now been labeled this anti-Israel person because she expressed concern for other people in the area and not Israel, basically.
And so the one person that you're talking about is the Debbie Schulchel girl, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen it just from people, not people who are bloggers or well-known or anything like that. I've actually, even the other instance where, these 3 Muslim young adults were killed in North Carolina by a man who's an atheist. This wasn't a religious killing. He's just an evil man. From all accounts, he's just an evil man. But I've literally seen people in my own newsfeed saying, well, why is he even in jail? I mean, the rhetoric that's going on with people is just getting out of hand in our own country.
Like, the 3 people that were killed in North Carolina, though, they weren't like possible terrorists. They were like girls, right?
There was 2 women and a man. The one of the women and the young man was married, and then the other woman was her sister. who was very close with them. They were all students, and the young couple had just gotten married. But this was one of the women had gone on and basically done a big thing in school about how much she loved this country and loved being in this country and loved the opportunities of our country. This was not at all 3 young adults who were anywhere near terrorists, or they were very much probably more so loving our country than most people in our country. And this was not a man who killed them because they were Muslim. He was a psychopath, basically. I mean, he'd had arguments with basically every neighbor over parking. He was obsessed with the situation of parking. He was, from all accounts, just an evil man that had threatened other people, non-Muslim people, with guns before. I mean, so this was just someone who's, lost his mind and killed 3 young people. And you have people on the right saying, well, they were just Muslims, so who cares? And that's where we're at in this situation, that we're so divided as a country, that this issue is so divided that we can't step back and just say, young people have died. And just out of respect for their families, keep your opinion to yourself.
Well, go ahead, Greg.
Well, it's just more dead bodies that people are standing on to make a point. Because, like you said, you've got one half that's like, oh, they're Muslims, so I don't care, and then you've got another half that's like, oh, they're Muslims, it must be a hate crime.
Right.
And there's really no one that's
Isn't
speaking
all crime
out
a
in
hate
between.
crime? I mean, isn't all crime a hate crime?
All crime is a hate crime.
Yeah.
If you murder someone, you have done it with hate in your heart.
Exactly. I mean, if you're going to kill somebody, it's a hate crime.
But for the Debbie Schlussels of the world, like you got to know you're not helping anybody, and that you really are just showing yourself to be just. And yeah, they're not going to do hour number 1, right? Like, they're not putting hour number 1 on here.
No.
There's an expletive that needs to be said here. You're a stupid bitch. You really are. This Debbie, and I haven't liked her for a long, long time, but you really are just a stupid. Like, you are just like a poor man's Ann Coulter wannabe bitch. And this means, by hearing this, we don't need to listen to anything you got to say for the rest of your life. So just go ahead and go away. We're done hearing from you. You've already now made yourself just completely, you've identified the ugliness that there's too many people in this country have, and you're part of the problem is what you are. You want to think that you're standing on something. You're standing on a dead girl to try to prove a point. You're standing on a dead girl so you can get an interview on Fox. Shame on you. And you know what? This is another one. You better pray you're wrong. You better pray you're wrong and that the atheists are right. Because when you have to go up there and you're going to get judged for this one, I got to tell you, you're going to be going south, not north. You're south. You ain't going north. You just nasty looking bitch.
Well, I mean, I think it just shows these people are part of the problem. There's a reason why, we have this big divide, and the big divide is because nobody's respecting the lives of anyone else. Yeah. It's the same divide we have over the police, situation going on. It's the same divide that we have when you can use the death of someone else to spew hate. You're part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, look, she and here's the, she claimed that the 26-year-old helped Palestinians harass Israeli soldiers and blocked them from doing their job of keeping Islamic terrorists out of Israel, and dubbed her as anti-American. Look, this girl was an aid worker. Like, right. She was an aid worker. She was over there helping people. Like, she wasn't doing it for that reason. Look, she was over there just to she was putting her money where her mouth was. That's what she was doing. Unlike yourself, who was sitting back here. Look, honestly, Debbie, if you felt so strongly about this, you ought to join the military then. You ought to be over there fighting. Instead, you're not doing that. You're sitting here wearing your jean jacket in freaking Michigan, wherever the hell you're from, and sitting here trying to get on Fox News by talking about this chick. Oh, you nasty thing. Nasty little thing, you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, listen, I mean, I think that, we're not over there. So, she's saying, well, this woman was helping Palestinians harass Israeli soldiers. well, was she helping Palestinians harass Israeli soldiers, or was she helping a Palestinian, and when an Israeli soldier told her to stop, she said no? And we don't know because we weren't there. But there is a big dispute over what's going on over there and who's harassing who. So I think for us over here who aren't going over there and aren't seeing it for ourselves, we really can't comment on that. And for this, for Debbie Schuchel to be able to say, well, this is what was going on. Why were you there? Because there's two sides to that story, and you weren't part of it.
Well, people like this think that they know everything, and they don't. That's the problem. And again, she's one of these ones that really, some people they just shouldn't interview, and she's one of them. You just shouldn't interview them. They're stupid. They're just ignorant people. They've been ignorant for a long time. It's only times like this that things come up. Well, we gotta take a break, but I feel for you know what. We don't know where all this is going to go, but man, there's an opportunity that things are going to go real south real quick, man. Let's just all pray for the right thing to happen. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on 100%. Intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Liberty Underground, 1787 Radio Network. Website, 1787network.com, 1787network.com. Oh, it looks like James has responded to what I had said. We'll see what he said here. God, this computer just does not work fast anymore. ISIS is a Maybe I say all of the things you say.
Yeah, I think you should vet those before you just say, let me read this on air.
I felt like Ron Burgundy for a second there. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, we'll talk. I'll talk to him later.
Yeah, not every message that comes through is like, ready for airplay.
I guess not. I guess not. I don't think he meant it in the way that it would sound by how he meant it, but at any rate. Are you picking up the phone for... Oh, you're giving him a call? Okay. We're getting ready to get Brandon on here for hour number 2. Hopefully everybody is going to enjoy his take on it. It's nice to get his take on these things, too, because, he brings a completely different perspective.
A smart one.
A smart one. Much smarter than ours. But we'll see. if he disagrees with me, though, he's wrong. Then he's not smart.
I don't know if you'd call him wrong, though.
No, I actually think me and Brandon are kind of on the same side on some of this stuff. It's weird, though. It's again, these issues that are, we talked about it all during hour number 1, but these issues, there's no good answers, and I think everybody can admit to that. And so what you're trying to have is what is the best solution, even though we know that no matter what, they're not going to do the right thing.
Well, yeah.
Like, that's the one thing we all can agree on is more than likely our government is going to have the wrong policy.
Right. No matter what, we're going to mess it all up.
Yeah. No matter what, we're going to geek the whole deal up.
Yeah. No matter what we decide, it's going to just create a, mess.
It's going to be bad.
Now, I do have a story for Greg, so I wasn't going to say it when he was on the phone.
Yeah, Brandon's not picking up, so we'll let him call in at his leisure. Go ahead.
So, I read a story about your favorite guy.
Rob Ford?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, Rob Ford. Now, we know that Rob Ford was the mayor of Toronto. Mm-hmm. And he's no longer the mayor of Toronto. He actually stepped down. He ended up not stepping down, but just not running for re-election.
Right.
But, he was still elected to an office.
Right.
He still sits on the city council of Toronto.
Right.
And he was thrown out of the last city council meeting because was he
smoking crack in the city council meeting?
This is funny. This is not a smoking crack story with Rob Ford. This is what Rob Ford does when he's not smoking crack is he actually stands up for the people, which is why we all have liked Rob Ford. But they were giving a report. Basically, the city staff was giving a report on why they should have this big event come to the city. And so in that, they forgot to put in the financial impact statement. And then when Rob Ford did a little digging, he realized that they were all going to be taking a trip to Milan to make this happen. And so he basically called him out, and he's like, that's BS, and was yelling at him. And the mayor said, you need to rescind your comments or you're out of here. And he's like, no, I'm not rescinding. That's exactly what they did. And he was thrown out.
That's awesome. I love Rob Ford.
It just sucks he's a crackhead. He's making good points.
He's a functional crackhead.
This is how drugs stop you from getting good things done. Right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we got Brandon on the line.
Who's not on drugs that we know of. So, Brandon, how are you doing, buddy?
Well, I can assert that I am definitely not on drugs. Enjoying the beautiful day the Lord has blessed us with.
Oh, beautiful.
How's everyone at your end?
We're doing all right, I guess. We were discussing ISIS and the lack of any good solution there.
Yeah, a part of that. I would like to actually defend Adrian. He actually said something that you corrected him on, which he's not totally incorrect on, and that is that Iran does give weapons. Well, they don't give weapons to ISIS, but they are giving weapons to support Syria's government. So it is a little muddled because these villages are being overtaken and those same weapons are falling into the hands of ISIS, just like Russian weapons, U.S. weapons. Everyone else is putting anything on the ground there. It's just absolute chaos. So it's a kind of a free-for-all when it comes to that.
Right. Well, anybody who's supplying weapons in the region, the weapons are falling into the hands of ISIS, but I don't think that Iran is directly sending weapons to ISIS intentionally.
No,
We did.
they're on the other. Alex was correctly said they're on the other side of that as in opposition. But then again, we went back to that. The religious factions there is why they're a Shiite organization and government compared to a Sunni-led ISIS group, which is what's taking over the land.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that this is what's going on. But I mean, again, in these situations, how many times is this the same thing that happens every time though? Like this is always what happens.
Yeah, I think we have to ask, what is a functional government there? And really, we talked about Jordan last week. They really are the only functioning government that is not in the news every other week about some sort of crazy persecution of their minorities or women and that kind of thing. Not that everyone wants to run off to Jordan and live there, but of the places in the Middle East and Northern Africa, they're the most stable of the Islamic countries in that regard. People will talk about our allies of Qatar and UAE and, of course, Saudi Arabia, and they're extremely oppressive with their Sharia law, how they violate women's rights, their persecution of homosexuals, and just the list goes on and on and on. So it's not as though we can hang our hat on any of those government structures either.
No, that's true. Again, we're dealing with a lot of bad characters in over there, but when you get involved over there, when so many people are bad characters, you're going to end up being involved with some bad guys, and we tend to, and again, the media is very culpable in this, is that in one aspect, they should be asking the tough questions that we're asking. The media should really be going, well, didn't you just arm these guys? Like, isn't this, aren't we culpable for the arming of these people? And it seems like the media never really goes after this administration or even the prior administration for the things that they could be actually going after them for, that if the American people really understood fully what was going on, that I think you would get a different reaction from the citizens of this country. I think polling would show that we shouldn't be arming more people and they would be against this. I think you saw a little bit of that opening in Syria. When they wanted to go in when they wanted to go in Syria the first time, the American people were really like, no, we're not doing any of this stuff. And then they had to do it the wrong, they went around it a different way. McCain goes over there, gives a selfie, and then, probably didn't see the arms that McCain brought there, his own stash, to go over there and arm them with.
He just emptied his gun closet.
Is that like the Obama stash? Now we have the McCain stash.
Oh, yeah, there's a McCain stash. There's definitely a McCain stash.
Obama's got a stash of cell phones to distribute, and McCain's got a stash of guns.
Yeah. Well, Obama added drones to his stash too, but that's a different story for a different day.
I think we see. I think the reason behind this, of course, is very obvious. Obviously, the Democratic side of this doesn't want to do anything that would make the president look bad, and the Republican side of it doesn't want to do anything to deter the American people from going to war and dropping bombs. So it's a lose-lose from the media and where their money's coming from. They're denying their own reports because some of them by now have actually come on board and reported some of these different things, the weapons that have fallen into the enemy's hands, the fallacy of where our weapons have gone, where they go. All of these things have been pretty widely reported, but no one's going to challenge their guests on Fox or MSNBC because there's fallout that's coming from.
Yeah, no. Both of them have a narrative they have to follow, and when the stuff doesn't fit their narrative, even when they report on it, they don't report on it and give you the long story of it. They use the single incident, but they don't tie it all together, which is what they should be doing. We should be. Look, they had reports when it came to what happened in Libya that we basically let Al Qaeda take over Libya and got rid of Gaddafi. But the whole report was, well, Gaddafi's a bad guy, so we really should have done this anyway. Well, he wasn't doing anything really bad right then and there. Did he do some bad stuff before? Yeah, but this is one of the dudes we actually had under control in many ways.
Well, actually, we didn't have him under control. He was unifying Africa under one gold-backed currency, and that's why we had to go bomb him.
Well, that's true, too. Yeah, they didn't have a Fed, so God forbid that didn't happen. Go ahead, Brad. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm just saying that we've gone full circle, right? What is our definition of good? So in the definition of good, the fantasy land of a democracy or capitalist system in the Middle East and Northern Africa is just not going to happen. And we're seeing this because of their Islamic faith. They don't believe in that. That is not how things work. In order to have capitalism, all that. You have to have free will. You have to believe in freedom. You have to believe in equal rights and those kinds of things. That is not how their societies are structured. So it really is just the end around circle keeps going round and round and round, and we play these games, and there is no good guys to hand the baton. That's kind of the problem. And, we still want to paint the societies and the cultures as though, well, it's not all of the Muslims. It's not, well, okay, again, we're not going to talk about hyperbole, but this is their culture. You're not going to undo their belief in Sharia law. You're not going to undo their religious faith just because you're pointing guns at them and you're blowing up the guy that currently is holding the AK-47, because when he's dead, someone else picks it up. And it's just a silly circular argument that we've been in now for way too long.
Brandon, this lends me to ask you the next question here, though. Are you more on board with Adrian's point of view that we ought to just just not even with ISIS, just get the heck out of there?
Do I want that to happen, or do I think that can actually happen? Because I don't think logistically that can even. I don't think it's even politically feasible. America wants to feel good about itself. America wants to feel like they're doing good. So even from a humanitarian standpoint, many Americans will continue to support some sort of structure, some sort of infrastructure there. And likewise, we also have tons of things that are invested, our embassy structure, a lot of different things that really kind of need to be maintained. But I've gone back again. What would my foreign policy be? What do these governments want us to do? When we talk to Iraq, notice that all the talk about ISIS never involves any of the leadership from Iraq or Syria. Well, Syria is an enemy. We look at their government as being an enemy, even though we're bombing the guys that are actually against their government as well. So both groups in Syria are an enemy. So I'm not sure what we even remotely would want to do. That's what I would ask a politician in Syria. You want to bomb Syria, you want to attack ISIS in Syria. Who do you want to put in charge? Because there are no good guys right now. You've painted both sides as bad. And why aren't you talking to any Iraqi leadership? That's what you want done in Iraq. Why are you not talking to the Afghanis and the Pakistanis? We don't involve any diplomacy or talk. We're just deciding to do things. And that's, to me, where it all completely breaks down.
Brandon, let me ask you another question. This is probably a longer-term question. Where you were at as it relates to where you were personally at, where your personal viewpoint is as it relates towards foreign policy, let's say 5 years ago and now, do you feel like you personally had a shift in what you think like foreign policy in our country should be?
Well, I think absolutely, and I think there's probably a couple reasons to that. Obviously, my personal faith has changed, and I think that I understand the Middle East conflict, the religious and holy war that's going on, and that I don't see an end to this. It's not as though there's some sort of magic button that you can do. This goes back for centuries, this conflict. And then if you believe that when you look at the actual infrastructure of Iraq and pulling one of the three legs away, whether you pick a Sunni leg, a Shia leg, or a Kurdish leg, you still got two legs that are going to be problematic for you. So there's not going to be good scenarios in all this. The one area that I shifted away, say 5 years ago, but I would say in the wake of 9/11 that I was very on board with a lot of what we decided to do, maybe not how we decided to do it, but I was mostly disappointed. I've been dramatically let down by this political correct approach to we're going to just kind of play nice war. We're going to have these, we don't really go to war to win a war, to lay waste to things, to actually send a message. We kind of do this politically correct, nice war, rules of engagement, all these kinds of things that are getting good and amazing people killed. And that's where I totally have gone off board with, look, if that's what we're going to do, we shouldn't even go at all. And that's where the president's new maneuvers with how he wants to deal with Islamic State is just laughable. Because all we're going to do is just get good people killed.
No, that's a good point. All right, now let's get into some of the other news that's in the world of the Global Dispatch. And the one thing that was we put up there about was in Sweden, employees are getting a high-tech microchip in their hands. Can you kind of give us a little bit of the background on this one, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit older. We didn't get to this last week, and I just wanted to touch on it briefly. And, we're in the age of technology, RFID technology, which is funny because when I had kind of brought up the negative side of RFID technology years ago, we're talking about 10 years possibly, people were first talking about how it's just only got local reading, can't do anything long-term, whatever. But, of course, now with the NSA and the global tracking and all the different things that we know happens, it just seems a little frightening that we're now going to just go ahead and start embedding microchips. And this is done for business purposes. It has to do with a business park in Sweden where they're doing the chips that allows them to access doors and machinery. Probably can use the copy machine by just waving your hand over. You don't have to have those burdensome little cards. But obviously, as a Christian, it becomes a very disturbing proposition. We talk about embedding microchips and barcodes and those kinds of things, which is got a very dark prophetic underlying to it. So it's definitely a story that didn't get really any legs at all.
Now, I have a question for you guys, for everybody in this room. I'm gonna start with Danielle first, though. Should a company be should a company be allowed to microchip its employees?
Well, and listen, I think that you have you can leave the company, which is what I would do. So I actually don't. I have an issue with the company doing it, but I think they don't have the right to do it. I'm sure a company can say, hey, you have to change your appearance, you have to do this, you have to do that to work at my establishment, and that's an okay thing. I think they have the right to do that, but then I wouldn't work there, and I would hope that enough people would say the same thing that would make them go back and change their policies.
Greg?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Danielle. The company has the right to require that, and you have the right to say, I'm not going to work there, I guess. I certainly don't support it. I wouldn't get chipped. You couldn't pay me enough to install a chip in me. And I certainly don't support any requirement of it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on this one. I can't believe that they're doing it. I wouldn't say that they wouldn't be allowed to do it, but damn if that ain't just some scary stuff, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would be the one encouraging anyone who that I knew that was going to apply there. I would discourage them from going there. I mean, I definitely would be out there trying to make sure people didn't work there, but I don't have a problem with them requiring it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it was a fake news story because you don't really hear it talked about much anymore. But I know that over in Europe there was a rash of kids that went missing, and so there was talk of all newborns being required to have this chip implanted in them. And if it was real, obviously there was too much backlash because it's never come to fruition. I think it was a false story. But even when you get people talking about that, it becomes scary. Because you can see immediately that kind of justification. Anything that we got to do it for the kids, people fall in line and they're like, yeah, we got to keep our kids safe. And you use one incident where a kid gets kidnapped and murdered, and all of a sudden everybody's on board with it. And I cannot get on board with something like that happening.
Yeah. I guess, Brandon, what is your take on if companies are allowed to do this?
Well, I think this becomes a very difficult scenario, as you guys have said, about the right of a business to do what they're doing. There's no way that I would want any part of a business. I wouldn't patronize a business that's microchipping their staff. I would like to hope that it would fall under the same guise of some of our other employee rights, which I know are probably exaggerated in many ways, but similar to the way we have overtime limitations, those kinds of things. I don't think it's really beyond reason that we could ask businesses, hey, listen, we're not microchipping employees. You got to come up with a different solution.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do business with them either. I think that Brandon brought up that point. I think that's a good point to bring up, is that I wouldn't want to do with the company if that's what they were doing to their employees. I mean, that's a good way of putting it too.
And even if the company was willing to offer, say, look, you can do a chip, or we can put it on your ID card. But it'll be a lot easier if you do the microchip, but you don't have to. It's fine if you make it optional. It's when you force these things on people to work here or be in this country or whatever it is. When you start using some measure of force to coerce people into doing things they wouldn't normally do, that's a problem.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm not supporting anybody that's microchipping their employees. I don't care if it's optional or not. I'm out.
The
Burger King people start microchipping their people. I'm out. Sorry, I'm out.
I will never eat a Whopper again.
I'm not eating one anyway.
I'm out of Whoppers. Yeah, I'm out of Whoppers on that. Brandon, what else is going on out there?
A lot of different stories on we've kind of beat up the Middle East and all that. Obviously, there's a little bit of the fallout on Kayla Mueller and the right-wing group that's really kind of called her to task on why she was there in the Middle East. This has always become a very interesting reaction. We always see it from the left because they don't feel any empathy or sympathy for soldiers to get killed, even when it's brutal because they put themselves in harm's way. It's a different takes on things. But obviously with Mueller, she's doing humanitarian work. Well, she's doing pro-Palestinian humanitarian work. She's working in Syria she's a Syrian boyfriend. That's what they're working with. So it's not the it's really more of the anti-Israel accusations, anti-Semitism that she's being called, and those kinds of things. So, hey, we got to name the names and we put them out there so people will know that's actually what's happened. Because I think you got to be accountable for what you do, and I don't think any type of hate speech or belittling a victim that's been horribly murdered by a terrorist group is the appropriate thing to do, even if you don't believe with why she was actually in the Middle East to begin with.
Yeah, yes. I think that's exactly the point. There is that you wouldn't want. We really don't like it when the left does it for people, and then somehow it's okay that the other side does it. Like the one thing that I wish people could get past is the hypocrisy. Like, stop being a hypocrite. And I know that's way too much to ask.
Yeah.
I understand that it's way too much to ask, and that's really pie in the sky kind of stuff. But stop being a hypocrite, for Pete's sake, though. I really, you know what? I'm to the point now where if I being hypocritical once, it's almost enough. I'm almost having a zero tolerance hypocritical policy, personally. Like, I don't want to see anything else to do with you if I see you being hypocritical one time.
I just wish cognitive dissonance was actually painful.
You wish it like hurt something, like it hurt like your left eye or something.
Yeah,
like
just give
behind your eye there was like this throbbing pain that would happen for every time you would do that.
Or just make your head blow up like scanners.
Oh damn! Oh, that's a lot going on right there. Wow. Anything else that's going on out there, Brandon?
We just run through a couple. The 3 embryo story in the UK is an interesting lawsuit to kind of keep your eye out there. There's always been a movement in America to be able to have birth certificates modified to be gender-free, be able to have flexibility to say, there's multiple parents on a birth certificate, these kinds of things. So just something that people may not be aware of is actually happening. Tons of great pop culture stuff. The Joker's finally going to show up in Gotham. Walking Dead returns. So tons of fun stuff to talk about on the Global Dispatch.
Oh, you know what? Walking Dead. I did happen to see this. I did happen to catch The Walking Dead, by the way. And I thought it was a very interesting episode. The opening back up, but I almost feel a little bit like they might be getting ready to jump the shark, though. I'm kind of feeling like it might be coming.
It definitely had some elements of that in definitely because it was very artsy. It was a very artsy episode. They're almost like taking themselves way too seriously for a survivalistic zombie show. So they got to be a little more realistic with some of their approach. But it wasn't a horrible episode. But you know what? That's the nature of these shows. And when you're on your 5th season or so, I mean, let's face it. I Follow Sleepy Hollow. They kind of jumped the shark, and they're on season 2. So it's a little hard to, be critical of jumping the shark in season 5, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, no, I'm willing to give them. I'm willing to see where they're going with this, and I do got to say it seems kind of funny that every time if they, The Walking Dead almost seems to be, race, like they have a certain amount of black people and a certain amount of white people that they'll have involved in everything that they do, and if they bring in another black guy, they got to kill one off. Like, if they bring in another white guy, they got to kill one off. Like it seems weird. It's almost like a 1-for-1 exchange. So they bring in a new young black guy and they kill off the older black guy. I'm
going to put that on my wish list of the week. Then I want 2 op-eds from Snitker this week. I want a op-ed on the McCain gun snatch, and now I want one on the quotas. The race quotas of Walking Dead. That's fantastic.
the race quotas on Walking Dead.
It's affirmative action.
It is. It's affirmative zombie action. And then they brought the governor back. Like, well, they didn't bring him back because he's dead, but like that, the artsy stuff. Now, let me just make sure I get this right. The artsy stuff is all that stuff that was going on when he was just sitting in there, and then the governor's there, then the little girls are there. Like, all these dead characters start showing up, right?
Well, it's hallucination, and the artsy stuff I'm talking about is you got the whole first sequence, which is all basically just foreshadowing images that will be played out later on. And it's all very metaphoric, and the way the blood will drip, everything like that. It's just so overstated, and it's not necessary for a show like this. But again, does it mean that, well, you know what, I'll say this. I'll back off the jumping shark a little bit as long as they don't continue to try to do it. If it just happens to be the way this one character's story went, because that was his experience, what he went through, then I'm okay with that. But if they're going to try to do this regularly, it's not going to really be a good thing for the show.
Yeah, no, I have to. I agree with you there. And you guys don't watch either one of you guys watch Walking Dead at all.
No,
so.
I can talk about Marvel movies, but
yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, well, his name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Again, Brandon, thank you so much for elevating the quality of the show to the amount that you're able to elevate it.
Well, I appreciate being a part of it. I enjoy it very much. Thank you guys for having me, and talk hard.
Talk hard. Always nice to have Brandon on.
Yeah,
I think I say that every week, but it's still
you do. It's
as
soon as he says it, like that's the thing. He says talk hard. We say talk hard. You go. I like having Brandon.
I like having Brandon on. Better than Adrian calling. No. We like Adrian calling in as well. It was an impromptu one for Adrian. Brandon, we know, is calling in though. So, all right. Well, that's not it. But we'll be back. We got more Liberty Underground when we return.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor, corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground. If you'd like to call the program, the number 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. One thing, before we get into the next thing, Let me talk about this first, though. Me and Greg happened to have gone to a new craft brewery place on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
Little impromptu. There's a new craft brewery in the Tarpon area that was that's opening called Silver King Brewing Company. Great location, by the way. Love the setup of the place.
Yeah.
Now their beer wasn't necessarily ready yet, so
we did get to taste one of their brews. They brought out a little batch of it for people to taste, and it wasn't quite ready yet. He wasn't happy with the carbonation level in it.
I just think he was probably feeling a little pressure because he's like, I'm serving other people's brews, but not my own.
Yeah, everybody's like, "Where's your beer?" And he's like, "Well, it's not ready yet."
Yeah, so he was serving up Big Storm and 2 Henrys was the beers that he had, which were good beers. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And they have good shirts. I bought a shirt there, so that was always good. I always like the material, the swag. Big on the swag things. But I'd like to do something now, in an effort for this show to really help libertarians out there.
Oh, I didn't know you were serious about doing that.
Oh, I'm totally serious about doing this one. In order to help libertarians out there when it comes to the dating scene, because I know that sometimes as a libertarian, it's got to be pretty hard to date. And also as a woman, like say if you're a woman libertarian, you're looking for a guy libertarian, and you wanted to lines could be so you could kind of properly identify him beforehand without actually having to ask him. As a service to the 1787 network, we've seen some pickup lines out there that are making the rounds that we wanted to kind of mention in order to help you in your dating prospects.
You're looking at me. I don't.
Well, you're the one. Let's start with the.
Did you want me to read them?
Well, one at a time. Let's do them one at a time. Give me the first pickup line, Danielle.
Okay. I can't believe we're going through these on air. I meant it as a joke.
Oh, I thought you were serious.
No. So the first one is, are you my ACA penalty? Because you've got fine written all over you.
That's a good one. I like. What do you think about that one, Danielle? Would that one get? Would that one get you going?
None of these would, but
you can tread on me all night long, baby.
That is not on the list.
It's not on the list. We got to add them too, I guess. All right. ACA penalty because you got fine written all over you. That's a good one. I like that one. All right. What's the next
I want the government out of my bedroom, but I want you in it.
See, Greg could be adding to the list
Greg
here.
is adding to the list. You already got 2 you've added already, Greg. That's amazing. All right, let's go. What's the next one?
Let's get together and stimulate each other's private sectors. I can't believe you're making me read these, by the way.
This is awesome. This is awesome. Okay, so that one probably wouldn't work very well.
No.
I don't think that one would work. What's the next one, though? Let's see if we got something better than that.
Unlike fiat money, you're worth something to me.
I like that one. That was a little corny. Little corny.
I'm actually okay with that one.
But I like that. That's a good one, though. That one's manageable. All right. What's the next one?
You're an economist. I'm an economist. How about some horizontal integration?
Not so much on that
but
one.
Because
you're making an assumption that 2 people are economists. I'm sure the first person saying it is not an economist. I'm just saying. I mean, that's a very specified one that I don't know.
It's very specific. It's not going to work on everyone.
Yeah, that one's not going to work on everybody.
In fact, I would suggest that most of these are not going to work at all. But that's coming from a girl's perspective.
I mean, I think the fiat money one might get you going a little bit, Danielle.
Maybe the fiat money one was all right.
All right, what's the next one?
You've got the curves to supply my.
Yeah, what's next? I'm going to comment on that one.
I didn't want to read these. Do you like it from the bottom up or top down?
That is going off of the. That's going off of the that video. Remember the video, the Hayek versus. Oh my gosh, Hayek versus. What's that? Who's the other one?
Keynes.
Keynes versus Hayek. Round 1. Oh, we bottom up or more top down. Remember that one. Okay, next one.
Unlike Ben Bernanke, I'll treat you like gold.
Now that kind of goes along with the other one, though. That's not a bad one.
I probably wouldn't have named Ben Bernanke. I would have said unlike the Federal Reserve or something, But okay, and that one's not so bad.
All right. The next one's bad. So let's just say it anyway, though.
Let me show you how inflation works.
That is definitely one that you
I
should
think
not
you
use.
wanted to do this just so
You know,
had
maybe-
to make me read these. By the
Maybe
way.
this is a list of things you shouldn't say. All right, what's the next one?
Now those are some tangible assets.
I like that one though. I actually kind of like that one. I don't know why, but I just do. Like that's,
I wouldn't use that this weekend.
I'm probably not going to try to use that one. All right, what's the next one?
Want to nap together?
Want to nap together. Want to nap together. NAP,
Yeah.
Not aggression.
I get it.
I get it. Okay, now do we have any other ones? Greg, you've already come up with two, and
Greg already has come up with two. I can't even believe I read those out loud.
Greg, you got anything else?
I don't know. I'm
You're at a loss. I got you. I understand too. I mean, it's Valentine's Day, so I thought, might we try to help out a little bit? Or tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I was hoping we try to help out a little bit on this.
Today is Friday the 13th, which I think is ironic. Friday the 13th, like the scary day, is the day before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
It is Friday the 13th.
It
And
is.
President's Day is Monday.
Right.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well.
I'm very confused how I should feel this weekend.
Yeah. It's a very confusing weekend. Very confusing.
It's a roller coaster.
We're all over the place.
Yes. Yes.
An emotional roller coaster.
Well, things happen. What's Danielle?
Well, and I don't have any way to segue to anything because I was not prepared to have to read those out loud, and I'm still kind of like emotionally traumatized from it. But now, David Jolly. Now we know that David Jolly was a long time, aide for Representative Bill Young, who passed away.
Lobbyist.
He was a lobbyist for a long time. But, during him running for the late Representative Young's seat, there was a little bad blood going through the family. There was, maybe he wasn't as well liked as, you thought he was going to be. But now it looks like there was at one point someone basically said that all of Bill Young's information needed to be deleted except for anything that he was currently working on, and that was not done because David Jolly's aide is now accused of taking Bill Young's internal personal Rolodex. So every contact, all the high-powered everyone that Bill Young had met over the years is now in the possession of, we would assume, David Jolly, because the aide that stole all of the information was promoted after David Jolly won.
Look, this guy was a snake in the grass, and the way that it seems now with the Jolly thing is that Jolly really felt like he was the heir apparent to all of this.
Yes.
Whether the family or Bill Young wanted him to be or not, he really did feel, I think, to the position afterwards. And I think this has to do with, this is one of like the negative unintended consequences of leaving people up in Congress for so long. Because at that point they feel like it's Bill Young's seat, so when he dies, I should get it because I was part of keeping Bill Young up here for so long. That it becomes these, territories where somebody gets the territory and then they're the new guy. And it's not, they didn't get there on their own merits. They got there based off of, being up with that guy for so long. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, no, it definitely does. I think that, he definitely felt like he was, almost like he shouldn't have had to even run for election.
Yeah.
That, he was the guy. A lot of, and I think you especially see it when you see, these families that, one person takes the seat after the other, after the next, and it just goes down the family, is that a lot of times these political positions are almost looked at as like a monarchy.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it a lot of times.
And it just seemed like David Jolly was kind of like, well, Bill Young, pronounced me heir to the throne, so I should have all of his stuff. I should, I deserve it all. And, You know, how dare anyone think I didn't? So I think we see that with family seats like the Billaracuses, where it just goes from one to the next. And obviously we have the Bushes and the Clintons, but even locally we have the same kind of monarch type, look at these political positions.
Well, not only that though, but this with the Young seat though, you had the wife who wasn't the first wife.
Right.
She thinks she's the heir apparent to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she's definitely not. And then you got David Jolly who thinks he's the heir apparent to the thing. Neither side of them is right. It's not either one of your guys' seats. It actually belongs to, whoever gets elected. And it doesn't, they're just a steward of the position anyway. So, Bill Young's, new wife who was who had an affair and took Bill Young away from the old wife, is arguing with the guy that, there's almost a little poetic justice, not to use the, but basically upended by the aide.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it just, and listen, at one time, I think Bill Young did want David Jolly to have the seat. But at the end of the day, it wasn't Bill Young's choice. It's not his seat. It's the people's seat.
Yeah, quit leaving politicians up there for 40-something years. I mean, Bill Young was up there for how many years was he in office?
42 years.
42. What did he have to offer the people in, what was he offering them anymore? It wasn't even like he was even in charge of probably for the past 6 or 8 years. It was other people. David Jolly was probably in charge.
Well, Bill Young was a big factor to Pinellas County becoming one of the hubs of the military-industrial complex.
That's true.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
A lot of money coming in.
You want to know what he brought? He brought Raytheon.
Yeah, he brought money. He brought money. He brought jobs. I mean,
and Halliburton, and
Yeah.
Well, there's something else that David Jolly did. He put a post up on his Facebook page the other day. He said, Monday morning at a news conference, I announced that I will be introducing the Thin Blue Line Act, which will close a loophole to ensure that all of our police are treated equally under federal law by making the murder of a police officer, firefighter, or first responder, whether federal, state, or local, an aggravating factor in death penalty determinations. Now, my question on that, there are states that have outlawed the death penalty.
Yes.
So how is he at a federal level able to say that these states have to now use the death penalty? I'm kind of confused by this act. I called him a bloodthirsty psychopath in the comments of that, but
well, and he is. Well, yeah. and I think it would only pertain to states that did have the death penalty, but even it on a federal level, that shouldn't. You should never be making federal laws about how a state runs their state court system.
Exactly.
So, and for him to say, well, I want, police officers to be all treated equally, but you do want them treated differently than a regular citizen.
Right.
And that's what he doesn't say there, because that is what it is that, well, if you murder a police officer or a firefighter or an EMT, then that automatically will be a determiner of whether whether they seek the death penalty against you. But if you murder an average citizen, that doesn't matter. So you do want to put these people above regular citizens and think that their lives matter more. But it's just not even the right venue. I mean, we could have that argument all day long, but David Jolly is in the federal government, and that's just the completely wrong venue for a law like this anyways.
Yeah. And another interesting story came out that I forget who put it up. I'm trying to find it real quick. So far in 2015, all of the cop killers are current or former cops.
Yeah.
So, figure that one out.
Well, and I always look at it, you have been some people within the military, former soldiers that have killed other soldiers, former soldiers. We're talking about the Chris Kyle thing, is that Chris Kyle was automatically dedicated as a hero. He's a hero to the country just because he was a soldier, but the soldier that killed him isn't given hero status.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I don't fall in line with that. The hero worship of soldiers, that we have to honor all soldiers and respect all soldiers, because, well, what about Nidal Hassan?
Right.
Are we going to worship him as well? Was he a wonderful person?
And that's what I think. When I was reading through some of the things on the trial of Chris Kyle, this is a person who was definitely mentally ill. The person the former soldier that killed Chris Kyle was very much mentally ill. He was suffering from many mental disorders, and was not getting proper treatment for any of them. And yet I'm watching rhetoric on one side saying that Chris Kyle was a soldier, so that makes him a hero, and this guy is just evil. He was certainly sick. But that had more to do with mental disorders of things that we caused by sending him over to war. But I just thought it was kind of odd that one would be considered a hero just for the fact that they served, but the other one wouldn't have at least that factored in when he was in trouble. So I thought that was a weird irony in the situation.
Yeah, that's true. That is a little bit of a weird irony. But back to the original thing that we were talking about, though. The issue that Jolly is trying to do here, police officers, first responders, if they get killed, it's not a federal issue at all. Look, if it's a federal agent, okay, I would argue then at that point, I guess you could make it's a federal issue. But if it's a police officer in Pinellas County, it's not a federal issue. And a matter of fact, if I was the police over there, even if you think that you should be treated differently, if you agree with Jolly that the punishment should be more severe because of the fact that you're a first responder or whatever, it's not a federal issue anyway.
No.
Like, you're not under the purview of the federal government. The state government is where you would do this. I wish elected officials, we always talked before about how somebody that's running for office needs to understand the position that they're running for. Well, when you win the office, I would think that you still need to know the position that you're running for and act accordingly. Because David Jolly, while you may agree or disagree with David Jolly, it doesn't change the fact that he doesn't get to do this anyway because it's not a federal issue. Like, quit trying to expand the role of the federal government. And this is what they do. They are always trying to expand the role of the federal government. I don't understand it. I don't understand why these guys continue to want to do this. And I guess I do understand why, but it really irks me, though, that this guy would do this stuff and then do it on an issue like this. Like, this is what they do. This is their operandi. They wrap it up in either, protect the, it's either terrorism or protect the kids or protect the police or something. They're always wrapping the stuff that they're doing in these little wrappers because they don't want to actually have to debate the actual issue that they're dealing with right here. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, David Jolly is so offensive.
He is offensive.
He's just so offensive. It sucks that he was able to win this thing. Like, I really can't believe that that's how it ended up. But I guess I can believe it now. But we really somebody's got to take this guy out. And I don't mean like kill him. I mean take him out like needs to replace him, needs to beat him in an election. Yeah. I really want to see David Jolly lose an election here.
Now, he has said that he will work with, like Justin Amash and Thomas Massey on removing the provisions of indefinite detention in the reauthorization of the NDAA. So while he is saying that, I kind of am one of these, I'll believe it when I see it. But he is kind of using that rhetoric right now.
Yeah. No, absolutely he is, man. He's all bowdy.
Well, he was using the rhetoric during the campaign as well. He was dropping the L word quite often, trying to convince people that I believe in liberty as well. Which all he does is prove otherwise every time he puts something forward or every time he votes. So just like this, he's pandering to his base with this. He knows that his base is very much going to fall in line with death penalty for cop killers. So that's what he's doing. It doesn't matter to him that it's not within his purview as federal government that he can dictate death penalty to states. It doesn't matter to him. He's pandering to his base. He's building up support. Whether this, I mean, even if it goes no further than that Facebook post, you know, he's got, I mean, there are hundreds of comments from people. Oh, I love this. This is a great idea. Oh, David Jolly, I wasn't really convinced with you, but I like what you're doing here. And it's like, you people are idiots. You're falling for this. Yeah. He's pandering to you. It's probably not going to happen. He's probably going to put it forward, and somebody's going to go, well, you know, this is federal government, and you're dictating to the states things that some of them have already banned, so you're not going to be able to put this forward.
Right.
But the damage is already done. The base is already riled up and convinced that he's doing a good thing. So it's ridiculous. I hate this game. Like I always say, I can never take enough showers to feel clean in politics.
Now, because David Jolly had a bunch of stories come out this week, actually. But the other story that did come out on David Jolly this week is that he is trying to get political calls, political robocalls on the Do Not Call registry.
Really?
Yeah. The guy who used political robocalls.
He's trying to say that you can't do robocalls anymore.
No. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that if your number is on the do not call list, you would not be able to receive a political robocall. Right now, political calls are exempt from the do not call registry. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if your number's on the do not call registry. A political campaign or any political matter your phone can be used anyways, even if you're on the do not call list. What he is trying to do is take that exemption away so that if you do place your name on the do not call registry, that you would not be able to get a political call either.
Well, you can still get political calls, just not the robocalls.
Just not the robocalls.
How do you feel about that?
I don't think we should have a do not call registry, so I think that, listen, if you put your phone number out there to where it's public record, then you're going to get phone calls. I mean, and that's just the way it is. So I don't believe in the do not call registry. I think that's an overstep of the federal government to begin with. So I think, you know, I think this is theater. I think a lot of people are just mad that they're getting robocalled by politicians, but I think it's completely hypocritical of David Jolly to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, listen, find a person in office that didn't use robocalls to introduce this or to co-sponsor it or whatever, but don't use the guy that used Karl Rove and Rand Paul for robocalls to put his name to this, because he doesn't practice what he preaches. If this is what you believe, then why did you use it?
That's what I hate about this, is now that I have reaped the rewards of political calls going out, I want to stop them so no one else can benefit from this, and it just gives me the incumbent advantage even further. That's what's disgusting about it. That's why he's such a scumbag.
Yeah. No, I mean, here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. Look, I can think that you can. Well, no, because with this one, if you didn't like it to begin with, you should have never done it.
Yeah. It's not a principled stance because he did it. He did it.
And he didn't need to do it, and he could have sent them a mailer instead, and you know he could.
Well, you know he sent him a mailer too.
What I'm saying is he could have sent an additional mailer. He could have used a call center with live people. He didn't. He used a robocall. And listen, if you want to use if you were against robocalls but wanted to make the calls, use a live call center with live callers. You didn't. You used a robocall.
Yeah.
With Rand Paul's voice, by the way.
Exactly. No, I don't believe in the do not call registry at all. And I feel like if you give then the phone number of your voter registration is optional, and if you provide a number there, then for me you opted in.
I don't believe in the do not call registry, but I signed up for it. My phone number's on it.
I didn't.
I mean, I personally would never go on the do not call list.
I just don't answer the phone.
Alex wants every phone call.
I don't want every phone call, but I don't want to stop him either, though.
Yeah, I don't believe in the list, but I couldn't stop it, so I put my number on it.
Well, here's the way I look at it, though. If you're doing something political, and somebody put their information on the do not call registry, I think for the spirit of what you're trying to do, you shouldn't call, only because you're going to do damage to whatever your cause is.
Yeah, but the thing is, political calls are exempt. When you're talking about political calls...
Spirit of the law, letter of the law, though.
Right. But when you're talking about political calls in the do not call list, it doesn't matter because political calls have always been exempt from it.
Yeah. And listen, they can still call you. Even if this passes, they can still call you. They just have to have a live person call you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, either way, Jolly's a scumbag. How about we just all agree with her?
Well, that I think we all agree on.
That we can agree to.
He wears nice. He
Jolly
wears
is a
nice
filthy
suits though.
dirtbag.
So the scumbag that wear nice.
No,
suits.
he doesn't. He wears
expensive suits.
Well, he wears expensive suits, but he's nice. We saw him at the debate. He's wearing brown shoes.
Oh no! Not having the correct fashion sense is not the same as not having a nice suit or having.
The suits are nice. He just doesn't know how to pair them up with shoes.
Suit that he had.
Brown socks, black shoes, and a blue suit.
But that was a great looking suit, though.
It was a nice suit, though.
It was a great looking
and
suit.
it was destroyed by the fact that he could not match.
Look,
yeah, his accessories.
Not having the matching ability
fail.
is not the same thing as not having a nice
And to me, all suits look the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a $2 Men's Warehouse suit or a $1,000, handmade designer suit.
I would like
they
to,
all look the same.
I would like
I don't know either.
I would like to know where you're finding a $200 suit, even at Men's Warehouse.
Yeah, they're a little bit more money than that.
We've done suit shopping, and $200 would have been a pleasant surprise.
I would like to own one suit though that is a couple $1,000 custom made suit though. I would really like to own one though, but I don't. So I'm not too worried about it, but I would like to eventually though. All right, well look, hour number 2 is in the bag. Hour number 3 is coming up, and in hour number 3, Rick Scott in Tallahassee. Why not we just go there and just attack that guy for an hour? Well, we won't attack him for a whole hour, but there's a lot of good information on what's going on in Tallahassee. Things that you need to know. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance. moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to relax it.
Good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground, hour number 3. Also in studio with me, the Duchess of Doing Stuff, my own personal Wikipedia, Tallahassee's favorite libertarian, Danielle. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yes, I am.
Yeah, you're doing good. What, you think you're better than me? All right. Also in studio, the Prime Minister of the Sinister, Greg Bowen. How are you doing, sir?
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal, huh? Just knew you were going to do that. Just knew you were going to do that. That's okay, though. You know, there's some. Hopefully, everybody that's listening to the show is having a good week. I know one person that's probably having what he would consider to be a good week, and that's Rick Scott.
Rick Scott is not having a good week, although he did win re-election. What he did not win is a good job approval rating. His job approval rating came out Tuesday of this week by Quinnipiac, and it shows that Scott still has a negative job approval rating of 42%, and only with 47% disapproving.
Yeah, 42% approve, 47% disapprove.
And the other few percentage just don't even care.
Yeah, that is kind of funny right there that you're looking at, like, you can't get above 50 on the disapproval,
right,
but you can't get above, 45 on the approval. Like, look, part of me is, I don't think you're really telling us anything that we don't already know, especially considering all the other crap that's coming out about Rick Scott. But they elected him.
Yeah, and here's the thing, but when the same people were asked how they way things were going in Florida, 67% of voters said that they are very or somewhat satisfied with the way things are going in Florida. 59% rated the state's economy as good or excellent, and 53% said that they were generally optimistic about the next 4 years. They just don't like Rick Scott.
Yeah, just overall hatred for Rick Scott. And who can blame him? I mean, I can't blame him. I don't like Rick Scott either. And it just goes to show you, look, Rick Scott got 2 out of 10 voters in Florida to vote for him, which means basically 8 out of 10 voters didn't like him. Didn't like him enough to not vote for him, or definitely didn't like him enough to vote for him. I mean, but it goes to show you need to show up and vote if you really want to make a difference there.
And that's just
and don't pick Charlie Crist as the guy you're going to take him up against. I mean, that's what a bunch
problem.
of I don't know what kind of the Democrats have. I mean, I don't know what kind of drugs these guys are taking to where they were all sitting around in a policy room or something going, I think this is how it happened too. Is you know what? I think what we ought to do, look, we should go get Charlie Crist and he can beat Rick Scott. And somebody else is like,
yeah,
you know what, man? That's a good idea, man. I bet you he can beat Rick Scott, man. Yeah.
I would.
What do you think, Taint?
Yeah, I definitely think that was a ill thought out plan. Someone didn't think this through to the end.
Yeah, exactly. There was somebody else, and they were going, "Hey, man, wasn't he a Republican?" No. He just went independent, man. He's prime, man. He raised some money for Obama, man. He's all good, man. Let's bring him in. What could go wrong, man? Everybody hates Rick Scott. That's how it went down.
Florida Democrats all owe Nan Rich an apology.
They do owe Nan Rich an apology.
Well, they owe the citizens of this state an apology too. Yeah. I'm not going to segment it out to just Nan Rich. But, I mean, Nan Rich is one of them, but they need to apologize to the entire state of Florida for what they're doing. What's wrong with you people?
Now,
Charlie Crist.
that was just bad. Now, Bill Nelson, who's up for re-election in 2018, scored a job approval rating of 43%, with only 26% disapproving and 31% having no opinion of the senator.
26% hate NASA. That's what it is.
31% were like, who?
Who?
Bill Nelson. No, that band's been out for a long time.
Marco Rubio had a 47% approval rating.
Boo. Boo this man.
Boo.
Boo. All right, go ahead.
He did have a 35% disapprove, but 44 and only 44% of people said he deserves a second term.
Oh.
Which is less than half.
Yeah. But it's the same thing with Rick Scott, though. I mean, this guy's got less of an approval rating than Rick Scott does, and Rick Scott won re-election. And, Rubio is cuter, so, he's definitely better looking than Skeletor. So it looks like if the Rube wants to, if he's going to run, because they're not going to be any serious competition in the GOP, and the Democrats are probably going to try to find Charlie Crist to run against them. It's the only play that they have, man. The only play that they have is like, well, let's have Chris do it. He seems like
or
the best
Alex
one.
Sink. That seems to be their
go-to.
or
Alex Sink. It'll be Alex Sink or Charlie Crist. That's all they're going to get to go against them. I mean, really, who's going to go against the Rube in 2016? Who's even been talked about?
For a Democrat?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think they're talking about anyone. I really don't think they have anyone.
I've heard Grayson's name get brought up, but there's no way that Grayson can do anything against the Rube. I mean, there's no chance that Grayson is. He's like a Steve Spurrier of politics. Like, if he's on your side, you kind of like him, but if he's not, you hate him. I mean, and Grayson's done. I can't believe he actually won to get back in that seat, considering the stuff that he was doing to embarrass himself. And this thing with the wife, I think, will screw him over, big time.
I think it's going to be a much bigger part of it. I think it would be a huge part of a Senate run for him. I don't think he'd do anything. But, but even saying, like, who do the Democrats have to go against Rubio? Who do the Republicans have to go against Nelson?
Well, no, that's true, too. That's in that race there. I think what you're going to see is, and again, I'm going to lay out a couple names here, and I don't have any inside Iggy on any of this stuff, but I think that this is where a Weatherford might come into play. This is where a Putnam might come into play. This is where you might get like a Miller that was in the House that might try to move to the Senate, or something along those lines. You might even see Connie Mack come back again for that seat again. I think you're going to have a pretty big Republican primary of a bunch of people that are, none of them are worthy of your support or your vote. I mean, there's not one. I didn't give you one name of anybody that I would even want, to be there. I don't want Nelson there either, but, I'm
this
just
is not a
hoping-
list of people to support. This is just a list of potential people that
I'm
could
hoping
go.
for a libertarian with a lot of money. That's willing to spend it.
We all are.
That's-
Everyone in the country that's a libertarian is hoping for one with a lot of
Libertarian with a lot of money.
Like, I'd like to have a libertarian come to somebody step up and go, I'm going to make
Someone
that run.
contact Peter Thiel. I think he lives in Florida somewhere. He's got a house here.
Yeah, I wish you could, change his residency, man. Help us out, man. We really.
He's got to have a vacation home in Palm Springs or something.
We got to get rid. And then
I mean, in West Palm.
God, I really can't believe the Rube is going to be. I really want somebody to challenge the Rube. I would love to run against him again, but
No.
it's not. No, there's no time for that. Who's got time?
Who's got time for all
Ain't
that?
nobody got time for that.
I would like to see Rubio lose, though. I don't want to see that man up there any longer than he is. I mean, you want to talk about, something else, by the way, that came up with the Rube that I do want to mention here. The Rube's trying to separate himself out from Jeb Bush now. Have you guys? I don't know if you've read any of these things, but he's like, I never worked for Jeb Bush. He doesn't. I never worked for Jeb Bush. That's the one thing he's saying right now. Like, he never worked for him. And while there's a little bit of truth to that,
in the technical sense, you were never employed by his office.
Technically.
Technically.
But I would say, and maybe you can argue that Jeb Bush didn't own you, but he leased you out on demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone that was, that had any knowledge of that relationship would say that there was not a connection there, because literally Jeb Bush announced him as an up and coming, and that's when he started actually being, winning elections and being something. So, he could say what he wants, but everyone knows that before Jeb Bush took a liking to him, he was nobody in the Republican Party.
Yeah. No. The guy was his political career was made in many ways by Jeb Bush.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that now he thinks he's big enough to where he can get away with, can back up off of, the Jeb Bush altar. But at the end of the day, you really can't. You're not going to get away from this, the Rube. You want to say you're your own man, but you're not. You're nothing but, Jeb Bush is, you're his boy. I mean, let's just make sure we keep that pretty clear that, you're the Bush's boy. You're the great neocon hope. But you owe yourself to Karl Rove and to Jeb Bush and to, all of the Republican establishment. I wish, this is another thing I wish the citizens of Florida would have understood. He was not the, when I was running, I said it, he's not the Tea Party guy. He's not the outside of the establishment guy. He was a guy that skipped the line.
Yeah.
He skipped the line, and they let him. They let him because they didn't like Charlie Crist. It's the only reason he was able to do what he did.
He's that establishment that he was able to skip the line.
Yeah. He's that establishment and that willing to just do what he's told in order to skip the line. I mean, and he's not worth supporting. I know that it's difficult to try to explain that one to some Republicans, but to a lot of Republicans. Same reason for Bush. Like, there's a lot of people like, well, I got to go for Bush this time instead of Bush and Rube. It's like, what? What? You want some more? Why? Why do you want more Jeb Bush? All right.
Nobody should want more Jeb Bush.
Nobody should want any more Jeb Bush. Definitely, that's the case. You definitely don't want any more Jeb Bush. But but let's get back to Skeletor.
Okay, yeah, Mike. And what should he?
Well, that was all I had on him. I was actually going to segue over into other things going on in Tallahassee.
All right. Well, for other things that are going on in Tallahassee, Danielle, please continue.
Well, we had a couple positive things happen. So we did know, I think it was last week we had already talked about Senator Brandes did propose a medical marijuana legislation.
That's true.
We did not have a House bill. We do now. While this week, while the rally was going on, because there was a big grand rally in Tallahassee for medical marijuana. Well, for marijuana laws in particular. But while that was going on, Representative Greg Stubbe from Manatee County filed a medical marijuana bill in the Florida House.
Yes. Now, this one is not the same as the one in the Senate.
No, not at all.
Not even close. Take the call
We've
first,
got a
Mike.
caller on the line. We've got Mike from Safety Harbor on the line. Mike, you there?
Mike, you there?
Yes, I'm there.
All right, Mike, how are you doing, sir?
Okay. I'm a little distraught. Much of what I have to say has to do with what you talk about on the show. And right now I'm on my way to Sarasota to the 12th Judicial Courthouse for a rally that they're having. And we're trying to address issues of and parental alienation, which I myself am experiencing. So that's why I'm making this long trip in order to secure our freedoms in America.
Understood. Now, the first thing that you said, though, was being distraught on some of the things that we talked about on the show. Can you kind of go into more detail there?
Well, I noticed earlier talking about, candidates. And, in my mind, I will vote for a candidate that restores our freedoms in America, such as, going down to the basic family. And I'm talking about my rights as a father to be with my children. Right now, it's hard to say. I want to say I'm not allowed to see my children by law. I'm allowed to see them, but because the mother of my children won't let me see them, the courts won't hold her in contempt. So I've lost my freedoms as a father. Now, this goes back to law. The family law is huge. It's a giant business. And if I could plug a movie that a person by the name of Joe Sorge put out, it's called Divorce Corporation, which is a $50 billion a year industry. And they're destroying our families. And I, for one, would like to get this stopped. And I would vote for the candidate of, whoever is out there that will look into our family law system. And many people say that the family law system is broke, but I've just discovered it's not broke. It's working perfectly to line the pockets of all these individuals that are destroying families.
All right.
So
let me.
it needs to be.
If you don't mind, I apologize for interrupting, but I do want to ask you a question as it relates towards this, because you talked about voting for politicians that would want to fix this, and understand there are different levels of government that would deal with this. What level of government do you think should be dealing with this issue?
Well, I discovered also that it is all the way up to the federal government. Right now, the federal government is paying the Child Support Enforcement Agency, and I believe if my figures are right, $2 for every dollar they collect from me. Now, right now, I don't even owe child support, but they're chasing me for it. It goes down to, I don't know why the states don't get involved. They don't know much about politics. I'm just an average Joe. But our local courthouse in Pinellas County, they don't really seem to run on laws. They run on policy. And the policy has financially annihilated me, took my house that I had, my children away from me, my vehicles. I have nothing left. And so I'm not in a position to, do anything about it, nor can I find anyone that will help. So I don't know if you read lately, just the other day, there was a person in Georgia that shot up his family. There was somebody in locally, I just heard on the news. I mean, I would like to have an investigative reporter look into family law and see how many of these cases of people that get, that agitated that they have to, do something that desperate. How many are actually because of family law? And here's a prime example. My little brother in 2011 committed suicide because they literally bullied him to death, as they are trying to do to me right as we speak. But I know his death certificate is family law. So I don't know if we can get statistics on why this part of our government is literally hurting families to the point of suicide, shooting up their own families, running, you name it. You've heard the term deadbeat dad. I mean, they are manufactured. They are, and I know this from personal experience.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to continue. No, you're look. This is one of those issues, and this is not the we've kind of talked about this in the past. I know we even wrote an article. I know Danielle has wrote an article about this, but it is one of these things. It is a major issue that is affecting a lot of people, but it's almost not talked about in the mainstream media, and I don't necessarily understand why it's not talked about, and I don't even know the solution. I mean, I know that Danielle, when you talked about it before, if family court is the problem, then can't you get rid of family court altogether and then just deal with things in civil court, basically?
What's happened is we have a family court system that is not under the same regulations as a civil court would be. Normally, it used to be that divorce proceedings were inside a civil court. Civil court has very strict regulations with what they can and can't, how they can and can't kind of disperse contracts, which basically marriage in the eyes of the law is seen as a contract. So there used to be the very strict standards of what would make a contract, what would make a contract enforceable, and equal equity under the contract law. Family court, because of situations with children, was created because the state and basically the country, when you have children involved, there was a big move that children aren't a contract and that you can't have the same standards when there's children involved as you would in a civil court, and that's why family court was created. But it's created a large amount of problems, and the reason why you don't hear it in the mainstream media is because while about 47% of marriages end in divorce, only 10% of those marriages are very contested. So you're looking at a very, very small, while it's horrific, the people who are going this, it's actually a very, very small number of divorces to begin with. So that is an even smaller number as far as the population goes.
But it does seem like this problem, though, is more prevalent than the statistics that you're talking about. Like, it seems bigger, and maybe it's because
we hear about it
more often.
Well,
because people reach out to us more.
I have an answer for that.
Sure.
What I've discovered is that there has been families that have went through this, who have gone through it, and they go, I'm glad it's done, it's over. Then you have the people going through it at the given time. And then you have the people who, like my 3 little boys, who would like to get married and have families, but I don't think they're going to do this now, but they don't believe it's going to happen to them. I didn't believe it was going to happen to me. If you do everything right, how can this happen? So you've got this. You can only address the parts that are happening at the moment, and family law knows this. And they're making $350 to $700 an hour on the fact that that what you just said. It's not in the mainstream media. Here's the other reason it's not in the mainstream media. I went down to the Child Support Enforcement Office, and I asked if I could take pictures of signs on the wall, and they said there's no cameras allowed in a federal government facility. And what happened in my divorce, I've been in the courtroom 14 times. You can't get in there. You're allowed in there by law, but they won't let you in. So they won't let you take a camera in there to see what's going on. It happens behind locked doors. This is what has to stop.
And it is like that because there's children involved. So anytime in the law, anytime that there's children involved, they have very strict regulations on what photographs can be taken, what can be reported on, and that is the protection of child laws that are covered. Which is why you don't see, if a child is in court, their name has to be redacted and things like that.
But you're talking about an unintended, maybe I don't know if it's unintended or intended consequence of that action is that. By doing the thing to be protective of the kids. Again, how many times crap in either protecting the kids or in national security? This is another one of those times where we're wrapping it with this.
I understand that, but like I said, there's the family court system not having regulations mean it really is on the whim of judges. Now, most divorces are done through mediation and not through a judge. And in mediation, there's no one in charge. The two parties have to come to an agreement. Normally, neither side is very happy with the agreement, but they both have had to come to this mediation. They both sign off that, yeah, this is what we agree. And that's what happens. And then most of the times when it is contested, that's when you get in front of a judge. And a judge has basically sole authority with zero kind of parameters on how they can rule. And that is the problem, is that a judge is kind of given free reign over how they rule. So it really is dependent on the judge's reaction to the two people on who they think is right and wrong.
Which, if this went to civil court, you wouldn't have that same
because there's
openness.
parameters.
Because there's
right.
parameters. Well, I that sucks. It sucks on Valentine's Day that we're talking about this too. And I do think that the one thing that Danielle said. Well, before we go into that part, the one thing I want to say is, it really is bad how nasty and vindictive that some of these things get.
Yes.
And it is unfortunate that too many times that the kids are put in a situation like to make sure that you're going to do whatever's best for the kid. But at the same time, both sides should have the kid's best interest at heart and not utilize that in order to get back at the other person.
And generally,
if that's found out, that ought to be a red flag right there.
And generally, by the time you get in front of a judge, it is because the mediation has failed because one of the parties is doing that.
Yeah. Well, we got to take a break. Anything else you wanted to finish this up on?
I'm headed down to Sarasota. There's a rally going on there right now as we speak at the 12th Judicial Courthouse. I hope to have one in Pinellas County. We need more awareness out there, which this family law foolishness ends up hurting the children through parental alienation, where an entire side of the family does not get to see the children. This is very painful for me personally.
Oh, I would imagine so.
I just wish everybody would investigate this. Look online for parental alienation. Look up the movie Divorce Corporation. Look up, everything you can on this. It may involve you in your future.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you for calling, sir. We really do appreciate the call. It wasn't something we were going to be discussing today, but glad we were able to kind of go through this a little bit. It's always nice to hear what the callers want to say. But thank you very much, sir. We do got to take a break, though.
Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. All right, let's take a break. When we get back, let's get back to the Tallahassee update. And we will... I'm not going to give the phone number out right now, though, because we'll make sure that we give... Because I see Danielle's face of I want to get through this Tallahassee update, Alex. Don't take more phone calls. So let's get to the Tallahassee update. A lot of important information there. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violation. Over 80% of tickets are written when under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa law offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground on this Valentine's Day Eve. Love the subjects we're bringing
Which
up
is
for
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th or Valentine's Day Eve. You take your...
Depending on what mood you're in.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
What are you doing?
I had a brain fart for a second. I apologize.
You get a lot.
I literally, I've had a couple today, so I have to apologize for that.
These are wind farms.
Let's get back to Tallahassee, though. So speaking of a place of nothing but love,
or scariness,
not a source of the problems that we're talking about today. Tallahassee, go ahead.
So like I was saying before we took the caller, we have two very, very different pieces of medical marijuana legislation coming out. And they are actually similar in a lot of ways, but there are some huge differences. And one of the major differences on the House bill is that all smokables will be banned. So you can have medical marijuana in an oil, in a pill form, in a patch form, which I did have to explain to a legislator is real this week. But
you could get a patch for that?
Yeah.
Where?
we actually went in and was like, well, you have this ban on using it in public, but what's the difference if I have my patch on and you can't see it? And they literally looked at me. This is an aide, not an actual legislator, and said, well, we didn't even know those existed.
So thanks for getting ready to ban it.
Yeah, so you could have it in oil form, pill form, in the patch. There is a way to have it in a vaporizer, but it would not, no smokables. So that's one of the differences in the House bill. The Senate bill does allow for smokables as long as it's not smoked in public.
It sucks when people that they're creating policy that they just don't know anything about.
They don't know the issue.
They don't understand it. Like, it's the reason you don't want the government involved anyway. Like, even when we're trying to get this stuff back legalized, like, these guys find a way to screw it up. Look, if the government was in control of the beach, they'd run out of sand.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
They do, and they are.
That's why they dredge. But, no, I mean, listen, this is one of those things where I get what they're saying. Like, well, if it's a medicine, any other medicine. No, this is not a medicine like any other medicine because it's an actual plant with no other chemicals added into the plant. So the way you take the plant, because no other medicine is just a single plant that you don't alter, this is completely different. So it's the way you take the medication is differently because the medication itself is different. But basically what Representative Stubbe said, because he the sponsor in the House, is that Basically that everyone says that smoking anything is bad. Well, no, actually, when you look at the studies, the actual inhalation of cannabis smoke actually does help certain people with lung cancer. So there is a benefit to actually having smokables, but we'll try to sort that out in the amendment process as this moves forward, because this is going to be an issue that I'm working for. One of the other issues with this legislation in the House that I'll be working to address as we move forward is that in the Senate bill, it has certain symptoms. It has, certain disorders like, Crohn's disease, ALS, multiple sclerosis, and other disorders. And then it goes into or chronic, chronic persistent pain, chronic, there's a few other chronic disorders that are symptom based. They don't have an name to it, and those symptom-based disorders were taken out of the House bill. So that's something that I feel very strongly about. It's one of those things where, if you allow, you're allowing medical marijuana for something like Crohn's disease, but if you have the symptoms of Crohn's disease without a diagnosis of Crohn's disease, then you can't have the medication, even though you're in the same kind of pain. You're through the same thing as the person diagnosed with Crohn's disease, but because you don't have that label, all of a sudden you can't use it. And that to me is wrong. If you're having the symptoms of something that would be covered, you should be covered.
And it's a lack of foresight here, just because there are a lot of things that could potentially be treated by it in the future. Once more studies are able to be done, mm-hmm. And when you limit it to a certain number of things that you can use it to treat, well, what if it passes as it is right now, and 3 years from now we've got 12 other diseases and things that you can be diagnosed with that we have concrete evidence that this can help with, but unfortunately it's not one of the things that was included in the law, so now we got to go through this whole rigmarole again.
Yeah, I am much more in favor of symptom-based and not disorder-based legislation, because I feel like if you have the symptoms of chronic pain, you have the symptoms of not being able to eat. Like, we give this medication to cancer patients in a lot of ways to help them eat, because chemotherapy racks their digestive system and makes it to where they literally can't stomach having any food. And this helps with that. But what if you don't have cancer but have an issue where you cannot eat? So that means that because this person has cancer and can't eat, they'll let cannabis help them. But if you have another disorder that causes the same issue, you can't. And I think that's, I think that you need to step aside and let doctors know what's going to be best for patients. Having a little faith and trust in your doctors that they're going to do the right thing by their patient, because legislators aren't doctors.
Well, and this highlights the hypocrisy that goes on in Tallahassee. Actually, I would say the hypocrisy that goes on with people on both sides, actually, with Republicans and Democrats. It shows you the hypocrisy here. Because if the government if the right will make the argument with the Affordable Care Act, be getting involved in the doctor-patient relationship, then I don't understand why they somehow don't have that same argument when they are getting in the middle of the doctor-patient relationship with the stuff that they don't like. It does come down to freedom and consistency. Like, be consistent here. How many times have you heard even legislators up in Tallahassee, now they're not saying it publicly to everybody, but they're saying it to you, is that, well, if Republicans believe in the free market, then they should get out of this stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there are some legislators up there that do understand that. I sat in a legislator's office where he literally said to me, as a good Republican, I think that we need to get out of the market and let the market decide the price point of medical marijuana, the uses for medical marijuana, and that, we as Republicans need to get out of the way. Now, he's one out of a lot of people up there. So, I mean, there is some sense up there.
No, and it's not allowed to be talked about. I would argue it's not allowed to be talked about publicly. That the ones that are publicly allowed, that are the ones that are publicly bringing these things up and that are doing it without any ramifications whatsoever, are those that are the authoritarian psychopaths. Like, the authoritarians are the ones that are allowed to rule the day here because, again, they mask it, they wrap it in the kids, or they wrap it in national defense, or whatever they want to wrap it. They wrap it in these things, and ignorant argument anyway that they wrap it in because, like, the one thing is, well, you don't want kids to be able to have access to it. Kids have access to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have better access to it. Look, old people that need it for their medication
are getting it from their grandkids.
Are going to their grandkids and be like, "Can you get some weed for me, man? I mean, can you hook me up here?" Like that's what's going on now, whether you like it or not. And then legitimate people that want to go through the system have serious pain issues are not able to get that medicine and that not just marijuana, but whatever medicine they were going to use, but they can't get it because you guys have cracked down so bad on the pill mills because you thought that was a big problem.
Right, and you have to give someone an alternative, and we all can say that things like OxyContin, hydrocodone, these large amounts of pain medication have been severely abused. They're still being abused, and has been very harmful to our society. But the problem is not to keep the alternative banned. And that's what this bill would do in the House is that, you want to say that, these pills are so, horrible on our society, which I would agree. But then when you have a safe, natural alternative, you don't allow that either. And that's a problem. And when you have a lot of the pain medicines have chemicals in them that don't react well with a person's body. You have pain medications like OxyContin, like hydrocodone, that make people very violent. They make people, they have a very, very altered state that a normal docile person is not docile anymore and is aggressive and has violent behavior. And we all know that, and there's been no basis that marijuana would do the same things, but yet you don't let the person who is in pain, who would have that on any of these harder pain medications, go to the safer alternative. And this legislation would make it very, very controlled under the doctor's care. This isn't something where you're just going to get marijuana and the doctor's going to be like, yeah, have a good time and, see you in a year. It's very, very controlled. You have to have a relationship with your doctor for 3 months. You have to have ongoing visits with the doctor. So if these things were going on, you would be going through what's the right dosage, what's the right strain, what's the right ratio for you.
Okay. I don't think I'll do the final on this one. Unless Greg's got something else to add. I think that there is one solution to this problem. I'm not going to necessarily do this problem or do this, but in reality, there is one thing that would solve this pretty instantly. We need to greenhouse the Capitol.
Okay, expand on that.
Oh, okay, I will expand on that.
Because we have a theory on why they're like this.
Yes, I do have a theory as to why you have the people that are so ardently opposed to marijuana as to why they don't like marijuana. And that's because when they were in school, either in high school or in college, and the cool kids were smoking marijuana, they wouldn't share with these people. And so now these people are on a vendetta to be like, if they wouldn't let me get high in college, then nobody's getting high. So the solution to this is to get all of them high at one time in Tallahassee, in the Capitol, 3 hours before they have to vote on this. Because I think that the effects will still be there. So I would like us to try to greenhouse the get all of them high. Because I think if we did that there would be very few people. I think that it would pass with overwhelming numbers. And it would probably run the cafeteria out of food too, which isn't it. We have to prepare for this. I'm not saying you don't prepare for this, but in reality, you just got to get all these people high.
Well, if we were to have a big run on the cafeteria, that would be helping out a very, very powerful lobbyist up in Tallahassee.
We got to get these people high, man.
All the cafeterias are owned by a gentleman with the last name of Sharkey, and he's actually a lobbyist up there too. So and everyone knows it. So like you see him walking through the cafeterias and stuff, and everyone's like, Mr. Sharkey.
Yeah, getting them all high would be the best thing we could do. But at any rate, what else is going on up in Tallahassee? I know it's not just the weed time up there, is it?
No, it is not just the let's get some people some cannabis. There's about making sin taxes, and this would be a sin tax for strip clubs throughout the state of Florida.
Yeah, this one sucks. This one really sucks. What they want to do is they want to take a $10 per head. Let me just say, basically, the state of Florida wants a $10 cut on every person that goes into a strip club per night.
And I actually don't think that's the worst of it, although that's pretty bad. My bigger issue with the proposed legislation, because it's not out of drafting, it's going to be a committee bill, so they're still kicking it around, is that they want a registry of everyone who goes into a strip club.
Yeah, that part's really bad too. That part is really bad. However, the only ancillary benefit to that one is if they do ask for a registry and this thing does get passed and stuff, I know the marketplace that I want libertarian. Because it'll be a matter of public record, so I want the list. Because I want to go, you're a libertarian. You didn't know it, but you are. Like, come join the party. Like, I literally want to use that list to actually recruit people into the Libertarian Party.
And here's the other thing, is that if you start making a registry, I have a feeling that strip clubs all over the state of Florida are going to lose a large amount of money very quickly because of all the politicians that don't want their name on the registry.
Well, no, that's true. I think they're going to lose business, and I do think that that's really the point of this. The point of this is not necessarily, and they wrap it around the kids. They wrap it around sex trafficking. Strip clubs don't have anything to do with sex trafficking. It just doesn't. It's not true. And for them to want to use this as the issue in order to fund more money into law enforcement to counter or to try to stop sex trafficking, well, I have an idea for you if you're willing to listen. How about you stop all of the going after all of the victimless crimes and save that money and use the savings there to actually go after the people that are infringing on other people's rights, like the people that are doing the sex trafficking? I don't know. Crazy idea. Just throwing it out there. Do what you want to do with it.
Well, I have a feeling that if you're trying to curb sex trafficking by making a registry for going into strip clubs, what you're actually going to be doing is encouraging sex trafficking, because what's going to happen is you're going to have very underground strip clubs that don't have a registry, that now if someone does come in there to harm one of the dancers or one of the girls that are in there, nobody is going to be able to call the police because it was already a crime for you to open the establishment. So you're actually going to make a very dangerous situation for anyone that is in this business, because it will go underground.
That's true. No, you ain't just Dixon. That's for sure. Yeah. It just goes to show you every time that the libertarian solution to things is the actual solution, no matter how much it offends you personally, that the libertarian solution many times is the one that will actually give you the results the closest to what you're actually looking for. This goes into the prostitution thing. This goes into, in the strip clubs, into the sin stuff. The solution, it's never going to be able to stop this. Look, prostitution is the oldest profession on the earth. As long as people knew, as soon as people realized that they could sell that, they started selling that. Whether it meets your sensibilities or not is inconsequential. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not, because you know what? A large majority of the American public, whether they want to admit it publicly or not, like.
It's not even that they like prostitution per se. Is that, listen,
they like porn.
They like the industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And at the end of the day, prostitution itself has been going on for thousands of years. So if nobody has been able to stop it or curb it or discourage it in thousands of years, the Florida legislature isn't going to be able to do it now.
Yeah. No matter how much they want to try to make rules that are going to make it even harder to do, all you do is drive it underground. Look, and equate this sin tax to the sin tax that they were doing up in New York, that they made a sin tax that's so egregious that people can single sell cigarettes, and then they end up having to choke a guy out and kill him because he was doing that.
Right.
Again, it's you're driving it, you're making it illegal, you're driving it underground, and then you get mad when people still want to do it. You can't stop that human behavior. It doesn't work that way. It's the core of libertarianism right there. That's the core. The core of it is you're not going to be able to stop this human behavior anyway, so you shouldn't make a law against it.
Yeah, they're also coming down on the roll your own cigarette stores. So while they have already ended the entire industry of the internet casinos, they are now targeting that to the roll your own tobacco stores.
Which, by the way, that tobacco, while look, no smoking is good for you. Let me just make sure.
Unless you're smoking
That tobacco that comes out of that place is better than the chemically laced ones that you get out of regular cigarettes, like Marlboros or Camels or things like that. Like, this is better for you. Well, again, none of it's good for you.
No, none of it's good for you, but this isn't laced with some of the arsenic and stuff that you see in cigarettes. It is a much closer to natural form of tobacco than regular cigarettes in the store.
Yeah.
And
let's close that down.
If I understand correctly, the fire safe chemical spray goes on the actual cigarettes that are produced, not the tobacco and everything itself. Right. So if you're getting the roll your own, where you're buying the tobacco and the papers and everything separately and making your own up, then you're not getting the same chemicals regardless, because just the nature of the way that you're purchasing it and doing it yourself.
Yeah. All right, we're near the end of the show. Anything else you want to quick hit up there for what was going on in Tallahassee, Danielle?
No, it would take longer than we have time for.
All right. We'll make sure we get into that in the beginning next week. Right in the beginning of the show, I think we should do the Tallahassee update right off the bat, so we make sure that we get to it. But that's the show, folks. The website, 1787network.com, 1787network.com. Hopefully you have a great Valentine's Day. Hopefully the love of your life will be loving to you and tell you all the nice things of how much they love you. And try to avoid the roads for the rest of the day, because it is Friday the 13th, and you want to make sure that you're not doing anything bad there. But we'll see you guys next week.